Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I would request everyone to settle down. It's a pleasure to have every one of you here. Welcome to Inauguration of Center of Excellence, Herbalife IIT and Plant Cell Fermentation Technology. I would request Jayashree to come in.
Thank you, sir. A very happy and good morning to everyone. On behalf of the Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this landmark inauguration ceremony. We are deeply honored by the presence of esteemed dignitaries attending this event today. Your presence today reflects the importance of this initiative and the shared commitment towards advancing research, innovation, and translation science in India. It is our privilege to welcome and invite our chief guest, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, Secretary, Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, and Director General, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, to please take a seat on the dais. Due to an urgent call for duty from New Delhi, our Director, Professor V. Kamakoti, is traveling and unable to join us in person today. Nevertheless, his unwavering support and encouragement continues to guide and strengthen this initiative. It is an honor to have with us Shri Virendra Tiwari ji, Chairperson, National Biodiversity Authority of India. We request him to please take a seat on the dais. We are also delighted to be joined by Mr. Ajay Khanna, Managing Director, Herbalife International India Private Limited, whose support and commitment has been instrumental in realizing this pioneering initiative. Sir, can you also please join us on the dais as a special guest? We now request Professor Ashwin Mahalingam, Dean, Alumni and Corporate Relations and Head, Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology, to join the dignitaries on the dais. Welcome, everyone. Before the commencement of the proceedings, we request the audience to please rise for the Tamil Thai Vartha, followed by Vande Mataram.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிதில் திக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு திரை முதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you all. To formally welcome the gathering, now we invite Professor Ashwin Mahalingam, Dean Alumni and Corporate Relations, IIT Madras, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And on behalf of IIT Madras, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to this event. We're really looking forward to learning a little bit more about the center, and many of our speakers and Professor Smita will talk about this. But I do have a few people I'd like to welcome, and then I'd like to say a few words on why this is particularly impactful in the context of IIT Madras. I'd first like to extend a special welcome to some of our esteemed guests. Our guest of honor, Dr. Vishwajanani Satyagiri, Dr. Giridhar Parvatam, Dr. U.V. Babu, Mr. Uday Prakash, and of course, Mr. Ajay Khanna. They're both old friends now. They come to IIT so much that, I'm joking now that the security actually recognizes them as well. And of course, there are several international experts as well who are joining us. I believe some Smita will be joining us online. Is that, we have Dr. Gilbert Gott, Dr. Philippe Houtras. Again, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing these names properly. And Miss Prithvi Kodial Bail from several esteemed organizations who will be, talking to us later today as part of this session. And of course, welcome to all the esteemed dignitaries sitting here, including some who I've already introduced. So thank you all for coming to IIT Madras. So I think the reason we think this is a particularly important initiative in IIT Madras is the following. When you compare universities abroad, some of the top universities abroad and IIT Madras, and I was fortunate enough to study both at IIT Madras and at Stanford University in the US. And so I have had the opportunity of looking at what is the difference between these two universities. From a student perspective, I don't think there is any difference. There are smart students there, but we all know there are extraordinarily smart students here as well. From a faculty perspective also, I would say there's not really much of a difference. They're fantastic, very capable, very creative faculty in some of the top universities abroad. But if you spend some time at IIT Madras, you will see, like Professor Smita and others, there are several smart, creative, very talented faculty at IIT Madras as well. So I don't think that is a differentiator. I think the difference is really in terms of the access to resources. When you look at the kinds of laboratories, equipment, sources of funding that are made available there versus the kind of laboratories, equipment, sources of funding that are made available here, that's where you see the difference. And I think that is what essentially slows us down. And that's why you find that some of these universities are not only higher ranked, but also tend to have more impact than what we do at IIT Madras. Now, of course, India is a developing country, and therefore, while it would be really nice to take a leaf out of China's book and spend 7% of GDP on R&D, that is going to be very difficult in our context because we have all of these other challenges that we also need to solve. And from an economic perspective, the government will only be able to put a small amount of money into R&D, which they are, and we're very grateful to them for doing that. But in addition, we need to, I think we require support from private industry. For a long period of time, the private sector and the public sector, PSUs and so on, have been supporting what we call the incremental cost of research, which means the laboratories are already here at IIT Madras, but can I give you projects that you can use those labs for, and that's fine. But I think what we really need is to go one step further and start establishing facilities that are cutting edge, state of the art, and are at the sort of the boundaries of what is truly innovative in the global context, right? And this is one such initiative where we are not looking at the incremental cost of research, but we're actually fundamentally setting up a laboratory to do something extraordinarily interesting. When I was at IIT Madras 30 odd years ago, there was a fundamental divide between people who did engineering and people who did biology and medicine, right? So it was like water and oil didn't quite mix. Over the last, 2 decades, I think we've taken a lot of steps to integrate all of these, and our biotech, biosciences department is one of our flagship departments that is rooted in biology and chemistry, but also brings aspects of engineering and data analysis to it. So this is, I think, extremely innovative. And the fact that Herbalife has come forward to help us set up infrastructure to really take this forward is extremely commendable. I think these are the kinds of these are the kinds of initiatives, these are the kinds of investments that we need to make in academia for us to really, push the bar higher. And Herbalife is also no stranger to us. This is not the only thing that all of you have supported us on. You've also helped us with scholarships for some of our students who are unable to afford the cost of certain programs and things like this. So there's been so I also want to sort of recognize the sustained effort that Herbalife has put in helping IIT Madras advance with its institutional goals. So thank you all very much again. So particularly thank you to Herbalife for taking this leap of faith in us. Congratulations to Smita and her team, because it's been a long journey in trying to conceptualize this. And Smita is already part civil engineer because she's been trying to develop the facility. And so she probably knows a lot. I'm a civil engineer, so probably knows a lot more than some of us in terms of how to get these things implemented. And also thanks to all of you who've come here for today to support us and to create this, make this occasion momentous. And we hope that many of you will stay with us through the journey as we develop what is today a nascent center into what hopefully will be the best in class in the world in this particular field. So welcome to IIT Madras, everyone.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome and for setting the stage for today's proceeding. I would like to invite Professor Smita to felicitate Professor Ashwin for his continued support and encouragement. Please, ma'am. You can go to the front. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. To provide a glimpse into the origin of the center, we now invite you to watch a short video presentation on India's first COE dedicated to plant cell fermentation technology. I request the team to please play the video.
Can you imagine a future in which medicinal plants won't grow in fields, but inside a bioreactor? In a world of shrinking farmland, unstable climates and fragile supply chains, the old ways of sourcing plant ingredients are under pressure. A new answer is emerging. Grow plant cells themselves, in controlled environments, with precision, at scale. Plant cell fermentation is turning high-value botanicals into reliable, reproducible ingredients for health and wellness. For India, this is more than just a technological trend. It is an opportunity to rewrite the narrative. We are a civilization rooted in plant-based wisdom, with rich traditions such as Ayurveda, Siddha, and other indigenous systems of medicine. We are also home to one of the world's richest reservoirs of biodiversity. Yet the plants that carry this wisdom face overharvesting, habitat loss, and climate stress. Plant cell culture offers a different path. The same valuable actives grown from cells in a controlled, sustainable way. It reduces dependence on vulnerable natural resources while enabling reliable production for a growing global bioeconomy. This is the context in which the Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology is born. A first-of-its-kind center in India designed to take plant cell fermentation from idea to pilot-ready reality, where a global nutrition leader and a leading institute of technology join forces to build what comes next.
At IIT Madras, as bioprocess engineers, we have spent years building experience and expertise in the area of plant cell fermentation technology. This center of excellence is where that knowledge meets scale. With industry as our partner, we are attempting to move promising lab results to pilot-validated, industry-ready plant cell fermentation processes. Our focus is clear: consistent high-quality phytochemicals and enriched herbal extracts produced sustainably and at scale.
Around this vision sits a continuous pipeline from a single plant cell to a pilot-scale process. At the Plant Cell Fermentation Technology Lab in IIT Madras, plant cell lines are established, characterized, and pushed for performance. They move into custom cultivation systems and plant cell bioreactors, where every parameter can be tuned for yield and quality. Downstream, extraction, purification, and advanced analytics turn PCF-derived biomass into well-defined enriched extracts or purified phytochemicals, ready to be tested, validated, and translated. For partners, this center is not just a facility, it is an engine for analytical and metabolomic support, for sponsored and contract R&D, for technology transfer, and pilot-scale validation that de-risks full-scale manufacturing. A place where students, researchers, entrepreneurs, and industry can work side by side on the future of plant-based biomanufacturing. Around the world, plant cell fermentation is moving from promise to practice. The question is no longer whether this technology will shape the future of plant-derived products, but who will build the knowledge, talent, and manufacturing capabilities to lead it. Through the Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence, India is taking an important step in that direction.
We see this center as a launchpad for skilled talent, deep innovation, and new ventures, positioning India as a leader in plant-based biomanufacturing. And to this effect, we would invite industry, academia, and government agencies as stakeholders and collaborators to help us build that future together.
Thank you. I'm sure the video familiarized you all with the potential of the Center of Excellence. Now, I would like to invite Professor Smita Srivastava, Head Herbalife IITM Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology, to elaborate the vision and the activities of the center.
Honorable Dr. Kalaiselvi, Shri Viren Tiwari ji, and other respected honorable guests, colleagues, and friends. It is a privilege to welcome you to this milestone occasion, the launch of the Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology. This short film you just saw underscored both the promise of plant cell fermentation and its alignment with the global sustainability goals. Let me add a few statistics to frame the urgency and the opportunity before us. India supplies nearly 10% of the world's medicinal and aromatic plant raw materials, and the export values have risen by more than 60% over just last 5 years. Ayush and herbal product exports continue to grow at roughly 10% CAGR. The demand for wild plant ingredients has grown more than 75% globally over the last 2 decades. To meet this global demand, 60 to 90% of raw material sourcing is through wild harvesting, placing critical pressure on our natural resources and raising profound sustainability concerns. This Center of Excellence at IIT Madras is conceived as a direct response to that challenge. Our vision is to drive translational research, innovation, and talent development in the area of plant cell fermentation, transforming how high-quality, high-value plant ingredients are produced at scale and sustainably. The center will organize its work across 3 core pillars. First, capacity building. We will develop a robust talent pipeline through hands-on and web-enabled training programs to expand expertise across academia and industry. Second, the R&D and innovation pillar. The center will bridge laboratory discoveries with industrial implementation by integrating advanced upstream cultivation with cutting-edge downstream processing and metabolomics to create end-to-end pipeline for commercial applications. The third, last but not the least, the blue sky research component, wherein we would nurture high risk, high reward exploratory science to push the economic and technological boundaries of plant cell fermentation. Through these integrated activities and public-private partnerships, we aim to catalyze indigenous technologies for deployment, advancing the goals of Atmanirbhar Bharat and the Bio-E3 policy while positioning India as a global leader in commercial plant cell fermentation. We invite you to collaborate, innovate, and join hands in realizing this vision. Together, we can enable sustainable, scalable solutions that conserve biodiversity, empower communities, and drive new economic opportunities. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for providing us with a comprehensive overview of the vision, objectives, and future aspirations of the Center of Excellence. We now have the privilege of listening to the various dignitaries who are present here today. We now play a special video recording for this gathering by our director, Professor V. Kamakoti. May I request the team to kindly play the video?
Namaste. I am Kamakoti, Director IIT Madras. At the outset, I need to travel on a very short notice and could not be present personally, physically for this very important inauguration event. Apologies for the same. I'm very excited that the Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation is being inaugurated today. Friends, herbs had been the part of healing right from Ramayana days. When Lord Lakshmana fell unconscious, it was the Mr. Sanjeevani herb that Lord Hanuman brought from all the way from Himalayas that saved its life. So we have such a big history of how herbs have been playing a very important role. And subsequently, we have seen a lot of Ayush products, specifically Ayurveda and Siddha, wherein herbs play a very important role. On a personal note, I had a frozen shoulder 15 days before, and full herbal treatment by the National Institute of Siddha. I am back into action. I can show you this. Now, this particular Center of Excellence for Plant Fermentation, wherein there are some indigenous Atmanirbhar Swadeshi technology. It's a reactor that can help in this process, are some very important highlights of the Center of Excellence. At the outset, I thank Herbalife for partnering with us, giving us the confidence that we can work together in this very, very important field. When we consume something which is not natural, always there is a fear that it could have a side effect. If something is natural, which is non-poisonous, and it can be part of our food habits, I think, and that if it can basically cure our diseases, like what happened to me in this case, I think that's the best that we as humans are expecting. This particular center will dedicate itself to come out with such type of wonderful combinations, compositions of herbs and plants which can cure multiple diseases, actually identify the root cause and treat the root causes. And IIT Madras, over the past decade and a half, has been involved in translatory research. We have been converting ideas into patents, into prototypes, into startups, into products. We file almost one patent every day. Last year, we landed up with 472 patents, leading to 1.4 patents every day. We also incubate in the last 2 financial years, we have incubated more than 100 companies. So translation is now a habit. It is not a coincidence. And I'm sure this center will work on one of the most important sustainable development goal, the SDG 3, which talks of accessible, affordable, quality healthcare for all. And that we believe can come from herbs. It will be accessible. It will be affordable also. And with this research and all the industry in academia interactions, I'm sure it will be a quality healthcare. Today, the cost of medicines are skyrocketing, and many medicines are also imported. The cost of diagnosis and the cost of treatment also are skyrocketing. And that essentially is causing a lot of financial distress, especially to the middle class. And India as a country, we have large number of middle class families. I'm sure that this particular center of excellence will play a very, very important role, a very crucial role in trying to find out solutions which will be purely herb-based, which will be organic, which is non-chemical, which will help in curing some of the dangerous diseases and also identify root cause, come out with treatment protocols that can eradicate the root cause of any ailment that a human suffers from. I wish my sisters, Smita, and her entire team very all the best, and I'm sure this is going to be a very exciting journey and a very important societal, socio-economic impactful journey for IIT Madras. I also place on record my deep sense of appreciation to the Director General of CSIR, Dr. Kalai Selvi, who kindly accepted our invitation. She has something more in her calendar, but just for our sake, she postponed all those and she's here today. And I'm also feeling a bit guilty that I could not be here when she has come. Sorry, madam. And I'm sure with your guidance, we will go to greater heights. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
We thank our director, Professor Kamakoti, for his encouraging words and for inspiring us to complement the traditional wisdom with the current science for innovation and societal benefit. Thank you, sir. It is now my privilege to introduce our chief guest, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, Secretary at Department of Scientific and Industrial Research and Director General, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. Dr. Kalai Selvi assumed office as Secretary DSIR and Director General CSIR in August 2022, becoming the first woman to lead CSIR in its more than 80-decade history. Prior to this, she served as Director of CSIR Central Electrochemical Research Institute, Karaikudi. She is an accomplished scientist with over 25 years of research experience and a decorated career with multiple scientific awards of high repute. Her work has played an important role in advancing India's capabilities in energy storage and clean solutions.
Agree with me. You ask everyone to Google and learn more.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Namaskar, Vanakkam, and pleasant morning to each and every one of you. I'm very happy to be a part of this very important activity. The main source or the main switch behind this is none other than Professor Kamakoti. So he just made a call when I was just traveling, and he said, Kalai Selvi madam, this time you are not going to say no. You are going to say only yes to the following. I said, agreed. Then he said, on 22nd, you should be there in Chennai. I said, 22nd. Okay, anyway, I have given agreed, and therefore I'll just get many things rescheduled. And I just got things because Professor Kamakoti is one such great friend, very selfless, very focused. And always we used to have a lot of topics which are very common. And most of the times we amazed ourselves that both of us are thinking more or less in the same way. And almost 99% we used to be on the same page, whatever it may be the common cause on which we used to debate on. So, Professor Kamakoti, I can understand. So many times we used to think that only in Delhi we will just have this kind of standing on the toes and changing our schedule every 1 hour. But now we understand that every leader is having that one. So I'm feeling very happy. So not only the Delhi leaders, but across this country, every leader is having that kind of a commitment and that kind of urgent matters which are to be addressed. And I can very easily understand. Coming to the very important event that is happening today, hearty congratulations to Herbalife International. Because it is the time the country has to prove in the global arena that we are not lagging that much behind the so-called XYZ countries. I don't want to say the names of the countries. And of course, in India, we have the complete knowledge. I fully agree with Ashwin. Because we have the knowledge base, both in terms of the students as well as the faculty. And to some extent, the infrastructure is a problem, but now we have the kind-hearted, very focused and the vision-based alumni and the industry leaders, like the way now Herbalife International is coming forward. So taking account of all these positivities together, now India is really making its best efforts to showcase that we will also be coming up in the ladder of showing the progress with respect to whether it is bio-cell fermentation or bioreactor or biomanufacturing, whichever way you call, I think we are getting ready to showcase the entire world that we will be soon catching up with what others are doing as on date. Why am I telling is it is not a theoretical knowledge with which I'm talking. If you just take even in CSIR, we started working on this aroma mission around 20 years back. And in the last 1 decade, we have been working in a full swing. And we have a minimum of half a dozen laboratories who are working on phytopharma mission. And I fully agree with Professor Kamakoti because in India, we not only believe, we adopt, we practice, and also we endorse and we certify that Indian herbs as well as Indian plants, medicinal plants, they are able to do a lot of magics, not only with respect to Indians, but also to the global population. And to prove that self, Professor Kamakoti had to have this frozen shoulder, and now he is able to just lift up, and he is telling that, yes, he himself is giving a kind of a testimony and a certificate. Because in the country, if you just talk about any manufacturing, because this comes under biomanufacturing, for any manufacturing, the main drawback or the only hiccup today is nothing but the supply chain. But in this country, if at all the supply chain related issues are to be really addressed, this bio-cell fermentation facility is the only option. And if at all you want a climate tolerant, climate resilient, and throughout the year or all-time blooming crops, whether it is an aroma crop or a medicinal crop or a cash crop, so whichever category under which you really want to cultivate the crop in India with the Indian condition, with the Indian soil, for the Indian farmer, for the Indian economy, and for global acceptance, it could be made possible only through this kind of a center of excellence. And we also understood the importance of this kind of biofermentation facility and the bioreactors. And very recently, we promoted a minimum of 5 to 6 pilot plants within CSIR system itself. And we have the bioreactor facilities ranging from 50 liter, 100 liter, up to 5,000 liter capacity today. And our laboratories are spreading across even the Himalayan side as well as in the northeast also. So even if you go to IIM Jammu, you can see the 5,000 liter bioreactor facility. And if you go to IHBT Palampur, there they have around 1,000 liter bioreactor facility. And even in northeast, we have a lab at Jorhat. There also they have a biofermentation facility. Apart from that, we have the Lucknow-based labs who are leading this aroma mission and the phytopharma mission. There again, we have a minimum of 1,000 liter capacity bioreactors. So CMAP is one particular laboratory who is leading this kind of a phytopharma mission. And I'm so happy to inform this august audience that we are coming up with a phytopharma-based cure, and the products are also going to reach the market, especially for non-alcoholic fatty liver. So for this non-alcoholic, because once upon a time we thought that we only should not smoke, but now we understand that even my neighbor is smoking, definitely I am going to have the effects. Similarly, once we thought that the liver diseases, definitely it will be very, very popular only among those who are really taking alcohol. But now we are coming up with a kind of a new observation and a new population under the category of non-alcoholic fatty liver. So non-alcoholic fatty liver is becoming very popular in Indian population because of our changed lifestyle, changed food style, and I would say changed thought process also to some extent, because we are very easily accepting anything and everything without even thinking whether it is going to suit with my system. So this kind of ready to take, because ready to eat foods are ready to accept for Indians also. And finally, we end up with a non-alcoholic fatty liver, for which our IHBT Palampur laboratory, through the phytopharma mission, they came up with a kind of a phytoactive ingredient. So that really got completely validated by our Central Drug Research Institute in Lucknow. And now we have handed over for the human clinical trial the samples, the active molecules, to ICMR. We are working with ICMR so closely in such a manner. Why am I telling is Dr. Rajiv Behel, the secretary of ICMR, is such a generous and a very open-minded person, and whomsoever is really approaching him with a kind of a very active compound, he immediately volunteers his help to come up with or take the responsibility of doing the human trials. So in that way, we have already handed over 4 of our molecules just 9 months back, and 1 more molecule in the last 3 months. So totally 5 molecules, active molecules of CSAR, have been handed over to ICMR mainly for the human trials. And we are really hopeful that within about another 1 year, we are completely hopeful in the year 2027, CSIR will be able to come up and say loudly that we have a permanent cure for non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is nothing but a phytopharma formulation, and the drug will be available in the market. So how we were able to live up to this expectation and to reach this kind of a target is it is a sustained efforts, it's a continuous efforts, and we understood the importance of this kind of a phytopharma mission and the bioreactor facility, and we started encouraging that kind of a pilot plant and the infrastructure 5 years, 7 years back itself. Up to now, we are also giving special grants within CSIR to encourage this kind of a phytopharma related activities. And therefore, in my opinion, instead of CSIR doing something, IIT Madras doing something, and Herbalife and other industries looking for something, in my opinion, today is a day, it's a day, a great day where a great sangamam is going to happen, meaning is academia, National Research Lab, and industries. All 3 of us can really end up with a kind of a tripartite agreement in future, if need be, so that we can really add all our resources. We can make it as a common pool of all talents, and then we can come up with a kind of a speed, as well as, I would say, like the way you said, reliability, as well as the scale at which you want. So therefore, if at all of us join together with our own individual capabilities and expertise, this synergy will help us in a big way. So I'll also put a word with Professor Kama, and Ashwin can also make a note of it, Smita can make a note of it, and Herbalife International also can really make a note of it. And we have our NBA authority with us on board. So since all the stakeholders are already there on stage, and we have already mentally made up our mind to work with each other, this event is one more time, it is reconfirming our own thought process, and we have to repurpose and rededicate and make this community also to believe that from now onwards we are going to work together. I'm ready for that. CSR is always open-minded because CSR is no individual's property because it is a largely publicly funded research organization. And for all the 37 labs, I always used to say, even to Professor Kama and others also, other leaders also, whenever you are traveling, wherever you are traveling, whichever city you are traveling, please feel free to go and visit the CSIR laboratory in that particular state. Maybe if you are able to spend half an hour or 45 minutes, that particular time will give us also a kind of a different energy and a different belief and a trust and a feel like working together. So my main purpose of accepting this offer is not to say that CSR is doing A, B, C, D and all, but it is mandate to inform that also. Only then you will also build in more trust. You will also feel like believing, and I'm making it as an open call. Any industry, any academia, those who are here and those who are listening, please feel free to visit as many CSIR labs. And mainly, I told you, whether it is CIMAP Lucknow or IHBT Palampur or IIM Jammu or Northeast NEAST Jorhat, these are the main laboratories in which this kind of a bioreactor fermentation facility is already made available. And for you, please make use of the facility, work together, and also you can feel free to discuss with the scientists also. If at all we both can, in a combined way, come up with the new assignments, if at all we can make some new promise, and if at all we can find out new milestones, for that also, I'll definitely drive my scientific team to say yes to that kind of a call. So taking this opportunity, let us all one more time rededicate ourselves with the mantra of the whole of government approach for the whole of society. Because it is not one particular organization or one particular academia which is supposed to take the entire responsibility in the name of the country. So in the name of the country, all of us should really work together. And on behalf of CSIR, I'm here to give all possible supports to work together. Now to conclude this, again, now, I just wish to remind all of you, country has announced a very important policy, which is Bio E3 policy. So which comes under, which has been already announced by the Department of Biotechnology. I think all these bio-related researchers, those who are here, would be aware of it. So kindly go through the Bio E3 policy, its important features, and also to what extent Bio E3 policy supports biomanufacturing. Therefore, what are the various opportunities which are available, and how best even ANRF and the second level funding opportunities could also be redirected for this kind of a purpose. All should be thought about by you, the researchers, and we from the other end will be so happily supporting all these activities. I wish this Center of Excellence all the very best, and I wish all the researchers also all the very best. Please expand the team by way of joining hands with as many research labs and as many companies as possible, and to Indian industries and the industries abroad. Again, my call is very open. So you just please visit, or you try to have some virtual meetings with the Indian counterparts, and let us have our complete linkage across the globe, by means of which a day should come that India should also lift its collar up and say that we are second to none, even in this case. Though somebody else is already has reached several miles ahead, I think we'll be able to catch up with that kind of a thing. And whatever we are going to do is going to be completely indigenous. Why? Because even though turmeric is available, and all of us, we know that curcumin is very, very important and a precious component present in turmeric. If you just go to Northeast and if you take the very special turmeric, there the curcumin percentage is extremely high. Nowhere in the globe you will find that kind of a curcumin content. So Mother Nature has abundantly blessed India to that particular level, and therefore very consciously, very knowingly, we are running one more digital library, which is traditional knowledge digital library. Dr. Vishwajanani is here. So we we try to give complete scientific validation to Siddha, Ayurveda, Unani, as well as Sovarikpa also. So in the case of homeopathy, now we are talking about in English medicine also, allopathy also, we talk about personalized medicine. But we as Indians, we should believe more in preventive medicine, for which this will help. Even for personalized medicine also, whether it is to be through other forms of the medicinal values, I think we have traditional knowledge digital library also. And to give the importance of, rather than going for medicine as food, food should be treated as medicine. We have our director from CFTRI Mysore, Giridhar Parvadam is also here. So by way of showing our presence, a lab director and a very important directorate's head and the DG here, we are making sure that CSAR is all the more ready to work with not only to IIT, but also the other possible academia as well as the industries. With these few words, one more time, I wish all the best to all of you, and thanks for the great opportunity. Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring words and emphasizing the importance of indigenous commercial biomanufacturing solutions to address global health issues via harnessing the Indian phytopharmaceutical potential. I invite Professor Ashwin Mahalingam to kindly felicitate our chief guest, Dr. N. Kalaiselvi. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It is my privilege to now introduce our guest of honor, Shri Virendra Tiwari ji, Chairperson of the National Biodiversity Authority of India. He is a 1990 batch Indian Forest Service officer in the Maharashtra cadre. Prior to his current role as Chairman NBA, he led the Wildlife Institute of India as the director. He has over 3 decades of experience in forestry, wildlife conservation, and environmental governance. May I now request Shri Virendra Tiwari ji to kindly address the gathering.
Dignitaries on dais, off the dais, faculty members, representatives from industries, researchers, students, representative from media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all. First of all, let me congratulate Herbalife International and IIT Madras on this occasion of inauguration of Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology. This is a very exciting and practical innovation that will reduce pressure on natural forest and the wild areas. We are all aware that, as already mentioned by previous speaker, that about 60 to 90% of the plant species which are being used in pharmaceutical, herbal sector and nutrasector, it comes from natural forest. So this technology will definitely reduce the pressure on natural forest and preserve the gene pool for future. This also creates an opportunity for startups, for researchers, and also for the bioeconomy to develop fresh products and create jobs. Now, it is a win-win situation for both, for the industry as well as for the biodiversity conservation. Now, about NBA. NBA is a statutory and regulatory authority. However, we are also the facilitator. Now, you are aware that recently Government of India has amended Biodiversity Act 2002 in the year 2023, and they have, after taking into consideration all the inputs from various stakeholders, they have amended the act and
removed certain provisions and made it more industry friendly. Now, even the new rules have been framed in the year 2024, which has reduced the timeline for all the permissions which are required to be given by NBA from 180 days to 90 days. Also, the ABS regulations, the new regulation which has come into force last year, has made a simplified provision for the ABS regulation. It is more predictable and it is based on the turnover of the company. Now, also the compliance frameworks have been simplified, and which will encourage more innovation, and it will also ensure fair and equitable benefit sharing. One more important thing which has been done is they have removed the criminal provision from the Act. And now they have made provision of adjudicating officers for any violations. So earlier, there had been a lot of violations, maybe knowingly or unknowingly, where we were supposed to file criminal cases against the industry, but now this provision has been removed. Another thing which we are developing is end-to-end portal for the filing of applications. So already we have phase 2 of the portal we have launched, and the final phase 3 will be launched in around December 2025. So this online portal helps in online submission of application and processing of application. It also auto-generated certificate of origin for cultivated medicinal plants. So earlier, whenever any industry wanted to procure medicinal plant, they had to apply to the BMCs physically, and it would take a lot of time to get the certificate. So now this is auto-generated certificate, which you get within 15 days of time. Also, one can trace the application, status of application real time with this portal. It also brings transparency and in collection and disbursement of excess benefit sharing funds, and also helps in compliance monitoring. Let me also share with you that so far NBA has collected about 266 crore in excess benefit sharing, and out of which we have disbursed about 145 crore so far to almost more than 10,000 BMCs, more than 250 farmers, and also around 18 to 19 states. Most of this ABS funds, out of 266 crore, about 120 crore we have got from Red Sanders, about 80 crore from agricultural seed sector, about 40 crore from pharmaceuticals. We also about 10 crore from the microbes. So what we are now with the development of portal, even we will be able to directly link about 276,000 BMCs with the portal. Now where it will help industry in submitting application and getting the direct certificate of origin from the BMCs. Now we are looking forward to working closely with this center for development of this technology. It is basically, as I said, a win-win situation. It helps in conserving in biodiversity. And one more thing I would like to mention, that we are taking special effort, particularly it was mentioned about so many patents, even more than 400 patents applied and received by IIT Madras. So whenever one is using biological resources for any research or development and you want to apply for patent, a certificate of origin is a certificate of registration is required to be taken from NBA. Earlier, we used to take about 3 to 4 months to issue this certificate, but now we are making special efforts and we are issuing these certificates within 15 days to 3 weeks time. So I assure here, using this platform, that we would be extending all the support, not only to the center, but to the industries working in this sector, wherever any permission or any statutory approvals are required. As you are aware, all the research by Indians using bioresources, no such permission is required. However, when you are using this bioresource for any commercial production, NBA's approval is required, and we are expediting. And as already, ma'am, you mentioned, for the growth of our own technology, we are expediting all the process. I just assure my support, and once again I extend my good wishes to this center. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful address and for emphasizing and making us aware of the various efforts by NBA for conservation and the increasing opportunities for sustainable utilization of natural resources. May I request Professor Sanjeev Senapati, Head of the Department of Biotechnology, to felicitate Sri Virendra Tiwari ji. Please welcome, sir. Can I switch? Can we do inauguration? I request our Chief Guest, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, to officially inaugurate the Center of Excellence by unveiling the plaque. This is a small change of events due to timing. Kindly bear. I request our guest of honor, Shri Virendra Tiwari, Chairperson, Dr. Vishwajanani Satigeri, Head of the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, and Giridhar Parvatam, Director, CSIR CFTRI, to join Dr. Kalai Selvi on stage. Welcome, ma'am and sir. I also request our special guest from Herbalife, the Managing Director, Mr. Ajay Khanna, and the Vice President, Strategy and Implementation, Mr. Uday Prakash, to join the dignitaries on stage. I also request Professor Ashwin, Dean Asia, along with Head of the COE, Professor Smita, and Professor Sanjeev Senapati, Head of the Department of Biotechnology, and Ms. Vasudha Narasimhan, Senior Vice President, Corporate Relations, CSR, and Office of Institutional Advancement, to join us on stage. A big round of applause, please. This is one thing where the right people are now here at the forum. Thank you, dignitaries. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ajay Khanna, Managing Director of Herbalife International India Private Limited. With over 30 years of experience in sales, marketing, and general management, Mr. Khanna has been leading Herbalife India since 2008. He oversees the company's business strategy, sales, and marketing operations and works closely with his distributor network to advance Herbalife's mission of promoting health and wellness. We're delighted to welcome Mr. Ajay Khanna to IIT Madras for the inauguration of this Center of Excellence. I invite Mr. Ajay Khanna to please share a few words on this momentous occasion.
Good morning and namaskar to everybody, and thank you for coming here. And in fact, when Professor Ashwin was here, I'm glad, Uday, you're spending more time here. Now I know the reason why you're missing from office. Okay, yeah, but so it's truly a pleasure to be here at IIT Madras. Rather, I would say it's a pleasure to be back amongst family and friends here in IIT Madras. On the inauguration of the Center of Excellence, and we look forward to that. This is, in fact, really an important, landmark, I think, for both the Herbalife and for IIT. And I also like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests here. We are honored by the presence of Dr. N. Kalai Selvi. Ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you here. Professor Shri Virendra Tiwari, Chairperson of National Biodiversity Authority, a pleasure to have you here. Professor Ashwin had to just leave to catch a flight, but Professor Ashwin is a part of the family, and it's great to be back with him. And of course, the other esteemed leaders from academia, industry, government, and the scientific community. Thank you all for joining us and for your, continued contribution to, advancing the science, research, and innovation in India. Today not only marks the inauguration of a center, it represents the creation of a platform that can drive scientific discovery, foster innovation, and enable research with the far-reaching, I would say, societal impact. And as Dr. N. Kalai said, it's a sangam of different, the industry and or the different factors and different sectors of the society. And so really, really excited for that. At Herbalife, we have long believed in the power of science, to improve the lives. I would say healthier lives, whether through, its nutrition, whether it's wellness, or, scientific discovery. I would say meaningful progress happens when knowledge is translated into solutions that address the real world needs. The center we are inaugurating today reflects that belief and our continued commitment to supporting research that can contribute to future advancements. And we are not new to, to IIT Madras. We have been sponsoring those students in need, and this is further, extending our partnership with the IIT Madras, but on a bigger scale. Our partnership with with IIT Madras is built on a shared commitment to learning, innovation, and scientific excellence. Over the years, we have collaborated, on initiatives that support research and academic development, which I just shared with you. Today marks an important milestone in this journey and reinforces our collective focus on ideas and capabilities that shape the future of India. When I was trying to understand about the plant cell fermentation, now this plant cell fermentation is emerging field and it has significant potential. As the world seeks, sustainable and resource-efficient ways to develop plant-derived derived ingredients and technology, there is a growing need, for innovative approaches. This field represents exciting opportunities to, advance research, support sustainable innovation, and unlock new possibilities for both scientific and industrial applications. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the future. Okay? And what makes this center particularly meaningful is its focus on translating research into practical outcomes. By bringing together scientific expertise, advanced infrastructure, and industry perspectives, it creates an environment where ideas are explored, tested, and developed into solutions with real world relevance and impact. Now, we are especially excited about the opportunities this center will create for the students and the young researchers. I mean, their curiosity, creativity, and ambition will play a defining role in shaping the future of this field. Through access to, world-class facilities, research opportunities, and industry engagement, the center can help nurture talent and inspire the next generation of scientific leaders. Now, this initiative also reflects India's growing leadership in science, technology, and innovation. By advancing research, strengthening the industry-academia collaboration, and nurturing homegrown technologies, it contributes meaningful towards our Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Atma-Nirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India. The Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister, has also reinforced the national call of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Anusandhan, underscoring the critical role of scientific research in shaping India's future. This center is well aligned with our Honorable Prime Minister's vision and reinforces India's position as a global innovation hub. But ladies and gentlemen, this is just a beginning. And as we say in Herbalife, we are just getting started. Samita ji, there are a lot of opportunities, okay? And we are just getting started. And I would like to thank IIT Madras, our scientific and industry partners, and everyone whose efforts have brought this center to life. I remember I was here 1 year back, exactly in the same month in June. And again, we are back in June, not as often as Uday. I've come here after 1 year, okay? But it's been a great, opportunity and good to see you all here. Though missing the students here, last time we had a great time with the students, sitting here, Uday, and chatting with the students about the future, about the research. But always it's a pleasure to be back here in this institute, which we at Herbalife consider as a part of our family. And once again, thank you to IIT Madras. We look forward to discoveries, collaborations, and talent which will emerge from this initiative. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your encouraging words and for sharing Herbalife's vision on herbal health, sustainable innovation, and the need for an ecosystem for translational research in India. Now I request Ms. Vasudha, Senior VP Corporate Relations and CSIR, Office of Institutional Advances, to kindly felicitate our guest, Mr. Ajay Khanna. As we come to the conclusion of the inaugural ceremony, I invite Ms. Vasudha Narasimhan, Senior Vice President, Corporate Relations and CSIR, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
Good morning once again to everyone here. On behalf of the Alumni and Corporate Relations team and the team of the Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology, it is my privilege to render a heartfelt thank you to all the dignitaries here today, faculty, industry partners, colleagues, students, and well-wishers who have joined us on this important milestone. I would like to express our very sincere gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. N. Kalaiselvi, Director General CSIR and Secretary DSIR, Government of India. Our guest of honor, Shri Virendra R. Tiwari, Chairperson, National Biodiversity Authority of India, for spending their valuable time with us, for encouraging us and gracing this occasion and sharing their inspiring thoughts. A very, very sincere, heartfelt thank you to the Herbalife International India Private Limited team, especially Mr. Ajay Khanna, Managing Director, Mr. Uday Prakash, Vice President Strategy, Ms. Shweta Jha, Head CSR, who could not be here with us today. It has been an exemplar of a partnership, the way we've progressed on this discussion from ideation to the inauguration of the center today. Thank you very much. Sincere thanks to Professor V. Kamakote, Director, IIT Madras, and Professor Ashwin Mahalingam, Dean, Alumni and Corporate Relations, for their unwavering encouragement, vision, and support for this center in all ways. Professor Smita, she is the epitome of the center. Thank you to her for envisaging and visioning this center and working with the Herbalife team to make it come true. I would also like to thank her co-principal investigators and scientific collaborators for their support and expertise towards the center and the projects. Thank you also to the ICSR team, to the research park teams, to the incubation cell, to the vendors of the equipment and the project management and construction consultants who have worked behind the scenes to make the center come up today. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all members of the COE, including the students and the researchers of the Plant Cell Fermentation Technology Lab group, who have worked very hard behind the scenes. Thank you also to the ACR office team. In particular, I would like to thank Dr. Sarayu and Dr. Babu from the Plant Cell team and Ankur Nagaria, my colleague from ACR team, who have worked closely with Herbalife and the Institute to make this center come true. Thanks also to all other colleagues, staff, and volunteers who made today's event and the milestone possible. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all for your valuable presence as we celebrate the inauguration of Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology. We now request everyone to rise for the national anthem for the formal closure of the ceremony.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
We now break for tea in the main dining hall ICSR, and I request everyone to come back in half an hour for the interesting panel discussions ahead with our esteemed panelists.
to visit the island, but I haven't been there so far, unfortunately.
Hi,
I have to. It's very beautiful.
Morning.
Smita here, Smita.
Hi,
Oh,
Smita.
Smita, hi.
Thank you, Prithvi. Thank you, Philip, for joining. I'm glad to have you people here. There is a little 5-minute delay, I think, as usual in all the functions. So the tea is going on, and we are just wrapping up, calling everyone to come to the hall. And then let's hope everybody is really looking forward. It has been a bang-on inauguration ceremony and wonderful talks. And everybody is enthusiastic to hear from the veterans in plants and fermentation. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you people in 5 minutes.
Great. Thanks,
Excellent.
Smita.
Okay.
Online?
That was a repetition.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Is it exactly the same thing? I don't know. Let's see. Oh yeah, if you have a chance, Vancouver Island, very beautiful. The wildlife is nice. I
Yeah, that's
have
what I
been
had.
there. It was my first trip with my wife. I took the plane for the first time when I was a bit younger, less white hair, and we traveled to Vancouver Island. That was our first trip together. Long time ago.
Great.
Philip, I think this is going to make it into the official recording.
இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்ணும்போது மட்டும்தான் அந்த ஸ்லைடு பண்ணுவாங்க அவங்கள பத்தி புரியுதா?
அப்படியா?
ஆமா, அவங்க
ரொம்ப ஸ்லைடிங். நீ வேற சம்பந்தமே வேற பேசிட்டு இருக்கு. ஓகேண்ணா.
அவங்க அவுட் எடுத்து கிளியரா
அவுட் எடுக்க முடியாதா?
ஸ்லைடு போகும்போது லைட் ஆஃப் ஆகும். லைட் கட் ஆகும் போது பேச ஆரம்பிச்சிடும். லைட் ஆஃப் இவங்களை இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்ண அப்பதான் கேமரா நான் சொல்றேன் சார்.
ஓகே.
அப்பதான் எனக்கு கிளியரா தெரியும்.
ஓகே. ஓகே. ஓகே.
బోర్డింగ్ నేరా రెండు అది ఓకే
நீனா பண்றீங்க நீங்க கூடியம்மா பிபிடி ஃபுல்லாக போயிட்டு இருக்கு வந்து இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு இவங்களை பற்றி சொல்கிறாங்கன்னா அப்போ அவர் பற்றி அவர் ஃபோட்டோ போட்டு இவங்களை இன்ட்ரடியூஸ்
talking to us. So.
பிபிடி முடிஞ்ச பிறகு என்ன பண்ணுற 3 பேர்
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what I've experienced since COVID.
Yeah. It's actually gotten better, the in-person meetings now. There was this, peak of like online meetings having on Zoom or Teams, and then now people are like, let's do in-person meetings instead of online. So it is getting better.
So welcome back everyone. We're about to start the next segment of today's program, the much awaited panel discussions. I'm happy to now introduce our esteemed panelists who have joined us in person and online for the first session on commercial plants and fermentation, global opportunities and outlook in the next decade. We have with us Mr. Uday Prakash, Vice President, Strategy, Herbalife International India Private Limited. Welcome, sir. With extensive experience in finance, operation and strategic planning, he specializes in translating business priorities into scalable growth strategies and is passionate about building sustainable, future-ready organizations. Herbalife is a global health and wellness company that has been changing people's life with great nutrition products. It has been actively involved in a range of corporate social responsibility initiatives in India aimed at enhancing nutrition awareness, promoting education, and empowering underprivileged communities. We welcome you, sir. Our next panelist, Dr. UV Babu, is Director of Research and Development at Himalaya Wellness Company. He's a phytochemist with expertise focused on developing new herbal actives for various applications in pharma, nutrition, animal health, and personal care. Himalaya Wellness Company is a globally recognized herbal health and personal care and wellness solution brand. The company integrates phytochemistry, pharmacology, toxicology, drug discovery, formulation science, and agriculture to translate botanical science into commercially successful products. We welcome you, sir. I would like to introduce our next panelist who has joined us online, Dr. Gilbert Gord, Chief Scientific Officer and Head R&D, Phyton Biotech, Germany. Dr. Gilbert is responsible at Phyton Biotech for all development projects involving new plant-based cell cultures and leads technical support for patent prosecution. Phyton Biotech is a global pioneer and veteran with over 25 years of experience in commercial plant cell fermentation. It's the world's largest producer of taxane-active pharmaceutical ingredients through its proprietary plant cell fermentation technology and has more than 2 lakh liters of cGMP fermentation capacity across Germany and Canada. The company has established itself as a global leader in commercial production of plant-derived molecules, extracts, and recombinant products. We welcome you once again, sir.
Thank you, and it's very fun to be here.
Our next panelist is Dr. Philippe Jutras, founder of Plant Cell Institute, who has also joined us online. Dr. Philippe has built and is leading the Plant Cell Institute, a global ecosystem for shaping the future of plant cell culture. He is also involved in accelerating corporate food innovation as the founder of Abilent Organization. The Plant Cell Institute is a global community dedicated to advancing the research, development, and commercialization of plant cell culture-derived products. Bringing together more than 100 senior stakeholders from 58 organizations across 23 countries, PCS serves as a unique platform for connecting expertise, emerging technologies, and industry insights to accelerate the growth of plant cell culture ecosystem worldwide. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
We also have with us online Ms. Prithvi Korail-Bail, Head of Partnerships at Extracellular. Mrs. Prithvi Korail-Bail brings over 15 years of global experience in developing and biomanufacturing, including cell-based technologies for food, cosmetics, nutraceuticals, and therapeutics. Extracellular is a UK-based contract development manufacturing organization dedicated to providing biomanufacturing support for cell-cultivated products in health and wellness industry. They de-risk the path to commercialization for companies advancing from concept or lab-scale research by minimizing the need for major infrastructure investment through their dedicated development commercial manufacturing facilities, combined with deep technical expertise. They provide solutions across bioprocess development, scale-up, media development, and cell line development for companies creating sustainable biotechnology-based products, including plant cell culture foods, biocosmetics, and biosupplements. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
A warm welcome to the panelists once again. This session will be moderated by Dr. Smita Srivastava, Professor at Department of Biotechnology and Head of Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence. She has more than 2 decades of research experience in the field of plant cell fermentation. I request Professor Smita to begin the session.
Thank you, Jayashree. So just to give a brief about the session and make the audience aware of the discussions which we are expecting in this session. Plant cell fermentation technology is increasingly gaining traction, as you can see from the international speakers also who have gathered here, as it transitions from research laboratories to commercial viable ventures. The panel brings together distinguished experts from industry and associated global ecosystem to discuss the evolving landscape and scope of commercial plant cell fermentations across the world and its future trajectory in the next decade. The discussion would also explore India's potential role as a global biomanufacturing hub in shaping this emerging market, services, and manufacturing of plant cell fermentation-derived products. In addition, the panel will examine the role of the Center of Excellence to make this happen. Thank you all. So without further ado, I would now pose my first question, which I'm sure all the people who have gathered here must be having in their mind. So Mr. Uday, who represents Herbalife here. So Mr. Uday, what motivated, if you can share with the audience, what motivated Herbalife to come forward as a partner with IIT Madras in pioneering this initiative?
Thank you. So what happened? There's a little story behind this. Before I come and answer your question, Mr. Rajesh is here. Okay. So I think the whole partnership started with us looking at the talent in IIT Madras ecosystem, and the ACR office played a big role. And when this partnership started, Rajesh took his own car, okay, and he took us around, okay, and then he asked us to meet Professor Smita, and we had this conversation on a small sofa outside the lab. The first conversation.
Bio-incubator.
The bio-incubator. Yeah, the first conversation. And she was very passionate about the work that was happening. And I'm a non-tech background, right? And I could not understand anything that she's talking about. So I carried forward that conversation. So Veena is sitting here. We are going back to Bangalore. I had like 4 hours in train. And I was talking to her, what is this all about? Help me understand this. And then when I looked back, then what we do at Herbalife, right? We have a strong legacy of investment into scientific research to validate the product efficacy. And the work that was being proposed to do very much aligned with us because this is a next generation platform to make sure that, make sure the phytochemicals that we are talking about, okay, the consistent, high purity phytochemicals that we are talking about would come out of this facility. So the talent part was already we had, full belief. We knew, we interacted with students, we knew the talent. We looked at the faculty. So the gap, like Professor Ashwin said this morning, the gap was the infrastructure. And then I was having a conversation that, listen, you have a lab, so what next? She said that it is TRL7, TRL8, and I would, ask her what would happen. So she said, look, this would bridge the gap between the lab and the techno-commercial stage, which is TRL7 and 8. And that is when it becomes industry ready. So whole the translation research that would happen out of this. So that was the second thing that motivated us. We said that, look, now anyone, any budding entrepreneur, scientist, industry, anyone can come and use this facility to put India on the global map in the biotech research. So that was really, really motivational for us. What kept us engaged in this entire conversation was that this would be working as a strategic innovation hub, right? Today, when we talk about metabolic wellness, we talk about longevity, I think there is so much this facility would do that these things can applied into various applications that we talk about. At Herbalife, we keep on talking about evidence-based results, right? And this would be the perfect platform to do that. So these are the kind of things, which kind of motivated us to support this facility. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Udayji. And thank you to Herbalife for aligning with our also goals. And it's very important that the like-minded people come together, then only the dreams get realized. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the audience would have realized what motivation has built this. Thank you. So now I'll come to Dr. Babu. Dr. Babu, being a veteran in the natural product industry, Himalaya everybody knows, not only in India but also abroad. So as a veteran in the natural product industry, what opportunities and benefits do you see coming out of commercialization of plant cell fermentations and in bringing Indian natural products to Indian natural product industry?
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me for such an important session. Before I express my opinion on that, I must congratulate you and your PhD supervisor, Professor A.K. Srivastava is there. I can go back a few years ago where we have been talking about how the cell culture can be scale up, what we do in the laboratory, how to scale up, how to make it into commercials, right? That was always a dream. And still today, the dream has just begun and dream has to realize when we see a lot of commercial plants established in this country, and we are actually focusing on very, specialized botanical extracts, I would say. I won't say as a pure molecules. I will also give the examples why that is so. And when these are so important for the global, right? So with this, I want to give a background why this kind of technology is so important today. As you have seen in the morning, DGCSR was talking about the herbs' importance of how the CSR is doing and how the herbs makes the mainstream importance of affordable healthcare in this country and what importance is to the globally. Because I also from CSR CDRI, as I did my PhD from CDRI. If you look into today, you can see the government of India pushing so many ways of, promoting the traditional medicine, Ayurveda, Siddha, all kinds of, Ayush medicines. The biggest problem today, our contribution globally is not even 3%, where the China is at 11%. Overall, the natural products contributions, right? Yes, of course, I can see the trends that how the domestic has increased many folds of consumption of traditional medicine. Now, if you see traditionally how the herbs are placed, all these herbs, as traditionally, you can go with the Ayurvedic proprietary medicine, as simple as it is Chyawanprash, right? And we can also pick up the herbs from the classical textbooks make as an Ayurvedic proprietary medicines. You can see leaf 52 of Himalaya is one of the proprietary medicine. Then there is also, you can see for the last few years, FSSAI has come into the, into the mainstream. There a lot of nutraceutical has come. They have adopted a lot of Ayurvedic herbs into FSSAI. The fourth most important classification has come for the last decade is the phytopharmaceuticals. So according to the phytopharmaceuticals, the herbal extract can be made as a mainstream drug, which can be licensed by CDSCO, Drug Controller of India, route, where this can be prescribed by the modern doctors. That is where it makes a significant difference how the herbs can be explored, okay, and how this technology can bring in. Now, going back to why this is so important and what are the supply chain issues and so important. Like if you see in India, there are about 17,000 medicinal plants. The flora has been reported. Out of which, over the years, CSR and labs have studied only 5,800 herbs. That means we don't even know what herbs can offer 50% of the herbs, that wisdom that we have traditionally in this country. Now, since we have literature vast about 5,800 herbs in this country, because they have done very systematic biological screening of these herbs. Now, bring that, the academia to commercial sense. And today, Ayurvedic, entire Ayush industry use only 900 plus herbs. And those are maybe, maybe Ayurvedic practitioners, Siddha practitioners may use very small herbs of 100 kgs, 200 kgs to industries use 100 tons, 200 tons, 500 tons. That's the volume. Now, if I have to see the main companies, like huge companies that use these medicinal herbs, then we have only 100 herbs that can commercially can produce in this country more than 100 metric tons. None of other herbs can we can scale up. Because even today, we don't know the package of practices. How to cultivate these herbs, we don't know, right? The 70% of industry is depend on the wild-crafted, the herbs from this country. But of course, as a company, Himalaya is present in more than 100 countries. Our focus is always how you can bring the sustainability, right? And we have been focusing on every year to convert the wild-crafted materials into cultivation. We have a goal of by 2030, we should be able to 100%, all of our resources are coming from regenerative agriculture. So that is the, as a company I can say. But as an industry, if you see, there are out of which, 17,000 herbs, there are many herbs that are under endangered species today. And we have very important herbs that are reported from Himalayas. Around 65 herbs are mostly endangered. And we cannot even bring those herbs and cultivate. We have made several attempts, not only me. You can see about many of those research agricultural universities, even the National Medicinal Plant Board. They have been making several efforts to bring those herbs into cultivation mode. But it is highly impossible. You cannot have the high altitude, medicinal herbs and ensure that you can cultivate mass into the tons of this one. There is a technology that is only can do is a plant cell culture, okay? So one is, of course, when we are talking about technology of the plant cell culture, how this is going to be very important technology to the world. Now, if you see some companies still import plant cell cultures from particularly from European countries, right? So we don't have that kind of, commercial facilities today. There are, I think, few companies, explore some of these specialized, cell culture extracts for the personal care products, like, cosmetics, personal care products. I think I heard that you have also another panel section on the regulatory.
Yes.
So definitely that is where the main session where this technology can go further if we have to really, look this the commercials. Now, if I talk about the herbal extracts to commercial, as most of us, as the main speakers also talk about, how you can do using this technology a very enriched, purified extracts. I'm not going to talk about that. When I talk about Ayush, Ayurveda, or the traditional medicine, we are talking about holistic extracts, where the extracts have to be standardized. It's not a single molecule. Even we have proven several times, curcumin is not the one in turmeric. There is a holistic of the compounds that actually add a benefit. And it has been proven again and again in the literature that it is a holistic approach that helps behave differently than the pure molecule. So as long as you come to the pure molecule, it is as long as any molecule that you can see. Now, why this technology also gives so much of importance for when we talk about holistic approach. Today, we have to export to the 100 plus countries. All countries have different regulatory environment. Today, if we source the herbs, process, we cultivate across the regions in the country, the biggest problem is heavy metals. The problem is pesticides, ETO. There are many contaminants that you can see that most of our consignments from this country have been confiscated in the Europe because of these contaminations. Either the lead is much more, the pesticides are much more. The second most important is whatever package of practices you put in the cultivation, as most of our efforts goes into the farm, but you cannot reproduce exactly phytochemical profile that nature has, has its own way of cultivating those herbs. This technology, it is an automated process technology. Once you develop this technology and you can 100% ensure every batch you will have same kind of phytochemical profile qualitatively and quantitatively. So I think there are many, many advantages how India can take this technology to go ahead, to the global. So with that background, I must congratulate Professor Smita and also must congratulate Herbalife to supporting, IIT in this very important technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Babu. I have multiple questions in mind, which I had drafted, but just for the sake of time, I'll come back once after first round with all the experts. So now I have a question for a veteran industry, I'd say, who has been in this space for past 25 years. We have with us Dr. Gilbert here. So Dr. Gilbert, the next question to you about Phyton. As a pioneer in commercial plant cell fermentation, what developments make you most optimistic about its future? And how do you see the sector evolving over the next decade?
Thank you. And again, it's a great pleasure to be here and to be part of this panel discussion. And I like the words from my previous speakers very much because it fully fits to what we think about plant cell fermentation. But what makes me optimistic for the future, there are a number of topics which are very important. Motivation, I think that's the most important piece of it. Motivation to be to take risks, like many small startups have been initiated in the last few years, which is great in the space because it has not been it has not been done in the last 10, 15 years, but just in very recent time. There are many young people which are highly motivated to go to plant cell cultivation technology. And also there are many products, especially in the personal care and cosmetic industry so far, but there are many products coming from plant cell fermentation which are currently on the market, which is also a huge difference compared to 15 to 20 years ago. And that makes me very optimistic for these days, but looking at your new facility, the Center of Excellence, looking at the initiative from Philip, Plant Cell Institute, looking at some hubs in Europe. There's so many activities around. I can see that there's motivation to further develop the technology, to promote the technology, And these are all aspects which are extremely important because science alone can't fulfill and can't promote to developing applications and products to the market. And the business alone is depending on commercial situation. And I think that's important to look into future. Currently, all people working in the plant cell fermentation area are dealing with competitiveness. And that's, I would say, a little bit critical because you are competing with natural harvest or cultivation, which is always cheaper than biotechnology. But in future, it's maybe more availability. So I'm sure that in 10 years from now, we are not talking only about money and commercial aspects, but if a plant is extinct, you can't get anything from it. Absolutely. If you are going for plant cell fermentation, you are just take a leaf or needle or a piece of a root, and you can produce for future tons and tons and tons, and then you can take the availability, which is, I think, in 10 years from now, extremely important. And people have realized that that is may even of more worth than just to get some money these days. So I think plant cell fermentation has a very, very bright future. And I'm happy to be part of this development because we have not went away from plant cell fermentation for the last 30 years. We have been always working on this technology, and we know that there's an increase in requests and inquiries for developing new plant cell lines to produce may extracts, may just biomass, but may also purified compounds.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Thank you. And if I can ask a follow-up question on that, because I'm sure people sitting here from India would like to hear from a person like you, from Phyton's view, that how do you view, as Phyton, the potential of leveraging India's traditional medicinal knowledge for commercial plant cell fermentation applications in health and wellness sector?
So India has a huge biological diversity, and it's a place where traditional knowledge, since thousands of years, is extremely important and gained lots of experience during the last centuries that natural products, plants especially, can provide huge benefit to human health. So the basis is great to see, and it's much better in India compared to Germany, for example, where the biological diversity is also present, but not in that way, no question. And if we can translate the traditional medicine, which is well known in India, together with the biological diversity, if we can translate that into commercial processes, then that would be an extreme great benefit also for the Western part of the world, because this traditional knowledge is it's just great. Look into all literature, and there are so many experienced examples where natural medicine helped people where no antibodies were available, where no chemical molecules were available. So why not go back to these treasures? And I think India is this very diverse country in terms of biological diversity. It's the perfect place to start from. And I think with the background in India about biotechnology, and imagine India is very famous for producing molecules by biotechnological means, why not translating that to plant cell fermentation? So it's a perfect fit, and in combination with Western companies, that could be a very, very nice story for the future.
Thank you. And I'm sure the students sitting here, the budding entrepreneurs, they all will be highly motivated to hear this. Thank you. I'll come back to you as we move on. It's important to hear others as well, just for the sake of time. So I'll come back to you because I have multiple questions. I don't want to miss this opportunity. Okay. So now I'll go to Philip. Dr. Philip, as a founder of PCI, how do you see the global plant cell fermentation technology ecosystem evolving?
Oh, that's a very good question. And I would say I have seen, so we've started the Plant Cell Institute 4 years ago, and it has evolved already quite a lot. I mean, the whole field. And I would say three things. The first one is diversification. And by diversification, I mean from farm approved to multi-sector adoption. So we're very glad to have here Gilbert from Phyton, who have proven that you can produce pharmaceutical compounds using plant cell culture for a long time. Cosmetics was also demonstrated. But now in our groups, we have more and more people going towards other things like producing food and materials. Just to give you some examples, we have organizations producing cell-based cocoa, coffee, avocado, so more on the food side. And we have companies also producing cotton and wood more on the material side. So there's really a diversification of how we can use plant cell culture to produce different things and not only nutraceuticals or pharmaceutical products. So that I'm very excited. And I can tell you in our organization, roughly 30% of our members are looking at food-related products. So I'm very excited about seeing the future of how we can use plant cell culture to produce more food-derived product. The second level, or the second evolving things that we have seen is that the whole ecosystem has moved or shifted more from isolated silos to a more coordinated ecosystem. So the things that I've noticed is that when you have silos, or silos are the worst enemy of any mainstream adoption of new technology, right? We all know that. And plant cell culture was a bit siloed a few years ago, but now people are coming together. We've seen recently some grant funding received from groups, some consortia being built up in Europe and in the US. So I feel that there's a momentum around building the ecosystem to be sure that together we can bring plant cell culture into something that is more mainstream. On the third level, I think what we've seen evolve is like moving from something that we say, can it work, to can it work at the price of the industry wants to buy it? And that's very different. Like for pharma and cosmetics and nutraceuticals, it's usually great because you can start with very high value compounds. But if you want to work with food elements, for instance, in plant cell culture, you have to ask yourself, can you produce it at the price that the buyer is willing to buy it? And that's where we've seen a lot of discussions about the economics of it and how can we make it at scale and at a reasonable price for make it commercially viable. So honestly, on my side, I'm very excited moving from very high value compound products, pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals, going down the chain. Are we yet at producing commodity foods? Not yet, but I see the future that it will be very excited to have this as well and use plant cell culture to produce many different type of compounds for the well.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Philip. I'm sure this is the word which I could catch with this conversation was going to commodity, which is very, very interesting. We wish that plant cell cultivations, as you rightly pointed out, right now the entire focus has been on specialized phytopharmaceuticals just to take in the economics. But I'm sure with the examples which you gave, like cocoa coming from plant cell culture, or people are also doing in MIT wood. So I think, the day would be there when we get into commodity using plant cell fermentation. Thank you for your views. I'll go to Ms. Prithvi now, and then I'll come back to you. So Ms. Prithvi, I have a question for you, because knowing that you are coming from a CDMO organization and with a rich experience in assisting industries in bridging the gap to manufacturing as well as commercials. So what role can a contract development and manufacturing organization can play in promoting the commercialization of plant cell fermentation based products?
Yeah, so first of all, Smita, thank you so much for inviting me to this event. It's been absolutely lovely to listen to all the different opinions and thoughts from my fellow panelists today, but also just to catch a bit more, the event as a whole. So about us as a CDMO, or even a CDMO in general, one of the biggest challenges for novel technologies is how to get from R&D, small-scale lab concept to actual commercial production. As part of what we do, or any other CDMO would do, essentially, is to help bridge that gap. So a lot of companies, first of all, access to infrastructure is one of the key areas of support that we can provide to these companies, but also bringing in expertise to be able to handle this variety of different cell line species, or even across the different industries. So be it food, cosmetics, nutraceuticals or dietary supplements, or even phytopharmaceuticals. That sort of skill set does help enable or overcome a lot of these bottlenecks that companies would be facing at an early stage. So it's really being able to provide that support and that access that will help drive the industry. Another overlapping, or let's say an overlaid sort of support really comes from aligning what is the regulatory requirements as well in terms of commercial production. Because quality standards or regulatory frameworks, or even that sort of the testing requirements that are needed across the world to really support any go-to-market strategy is where we come in, and this is what we support with as well. A key example, Philip mentioned food, cell-based cocoa, chocolate, cocoa, or even coffee, or even saffron. These sort of ingredients, they do come in with a sort of novelty that a lot of food agencies around the world are still exploring. They're still trying to identify what does that mean in terms of actual approvals for these ingredients. And this is why having or setting up a process, or a sort of process design format, where a bioprocess integrated production platform can help support or check all these boxes comes into play. So having a sort of a standardized approach to biomanufacturing is a key area of being able to support these novel technologies. And from our side, really bridging that gap to not just proof of concept, which is at the pilot scale, but also that sort of continued manufacturing that also helps drive or meet that sort of supply and demand requirements that come about, is a key area of any sort of CDMO support that comes in. There's another element of it, which is really the technical support coming in from the R&D side. So again, this is, IIT Madras, this is a key focus for what you guys will be doing or are doing as well. But definitely, that sort of support, or that sort of R&D setup that comes in is very essential. Because if we are looking at a future where we have that sort of consistent batch manufacturing, hitting that sort of quality specifications, that R&D needs to be robust. So having that established early on, across different cell lines, across different species, even just across different secondary metabolites or ingredients coming out of a certain cell line, that becomes essential to be able to follow. So yeah, it's an overall sort of development and manufacturing support that a CDMO can bring in.
Thank you, Ms. Prithvi. I'm sure because, in India, as we are gearing towards adapting this technology so that it comes into mainstream, it is also equally important, and just to share with you people as well and those who are hearing us on YouTube, that because the focus now from the government of India after Bio E3 policy announcement is also to make India as one of the global biomanufacturing hubs. And under that program, the government of India is also planning to set up such biomanufacturing hubs like a plug-and-play setup. So it's important for people to hear what a CDMO can do, because such biomanufacturing hubs, their aim is also where they are trying to attempt and make a plug-and-play setup, end-to-end support system for startups, entrepreneurs, how their ideas can move to market. So I'm sure your views must have helped them and motivated them in this space as well. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll now come back to Mr. Uday. We still have some more time. So Mr. Uday, what role do you think this Center of Excellence can play to transform India's wellness industry?
Okay. when I look at the consumer behavior that is emerging these days, okay, what are consumers asking for? Not only globally, also this behavior is being observed in India. They are asking for personalized precision nutrition, okay, and that's where the whole ecosystem is getting developed. When I also look at the preferences from the consumer side, they are looking at more natural things, okay, and that is why with the advancement in the technology, you see more and more people are interested in the preventive than curative side, right? I mean, in fact, there are many research which tells you over the next 2 or 3 decades, how the preventive side will play a big role than the curative side. So I think, this lab that this Center of Excellence, sorry, initially this started as a lab and now we upgraded to Center of Excellence. So this Center of Excellence plays a big role because the demand side is kind of sorted out, okay? Explain you about the emerging consumer behaviors, right? The supply side, and that is where we see the variability. There's an opportunity of standardization. How do we make sure batch after batch we give the same quality of the nutrition that is required to be given? And that's where the Center of Excellence bridges the gap. So when I look at from an industry perspective, the opportunity, like you're saying, looking India as the global leader in biomanufacturing hub, this lab could be a game changer, wherein the entire innovation can happen in this lab. All industry partners can use this facility to do the innovation. I think the key will be the regulatory aspect, because this is very new. Even for regulators, this is very new. And I'm really happy that you have chosen the next session on the regulatory aspect. And I'm really grateful to our guest of honor, Sri Virendra Tiwari ji, other panelists, Dr. Vishujani, Dr. Girdhar, and Dr. Ramesh, coming together and discussing about developing a regulatory ecosystem wherein once we do the pilot, okay, how do we commercialize it and how do we take not only in India but in the entire world? And that is where the role that regulatory ecosystem will play will be very, very critical for the success of this Center of Excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Uday. So possibly this can be one question which I really wanted to pose to all my panelists, because it also guides us and our vision to move forward in the Center of Excellence. So in a different way, I'll pose the same question to Dr. Babu. What role do you think the Center of Excellence can play in realizing this benefit which I just spoke about in the previous question, which a plant cell fermentation can bring to natural product industry?
So I think if you see about the center, the first most important thing is awareness, right? There is a kind of facility or Center of Excellence is existing in IIT Madras. If you see the biotechnology point of view, the kind of research, the kind of biotechnology expertise that we have in this country, across many institutions, people want to do this kind of research. But people are not aware of exactly this kind of facilities available. If it is there, how can I take up the scale up, right? And how I can, convert the ideas into concepts into the products. The first thing I think is awareness. And I'm sure, with the kind of online streaming on YouTube, or in future, you will be connecting with the many institutes, CSR, and all other academic institutes. First, we must make sure and ensure that awareness is there. Such kind of technology Center of Excellence is established at IIT Madras. That's the first thing. The second is, I think this center is much more open for, the ideas that have at college level, university level, people want to explore, come back, and use this facility, make that proof of concept, right? Is that the idea? Okay? I think basically, converting that into a kind of a startup culture using this kind of, facility. So that will actually kind of making a chain reaction, and this will make a momentum across the country. Now, the biggest problem here is One is, of course, we have to see that how we will take up the regulatory, scenario in this country if we have to take this technologies forward. But most importantly, let us don't, this is my view, let us don't focus on the trending that because some ingredient is trending, some product is trending, therefore we have to, adopt this technology quickly to that. I don't think that is how it is give you a sustainable future of this technology. Actually, this technology should address the issues that we have in the supply chain, the issues that we have biodiversity issues, the issues that we have contaminants across the globe if we have to export the wellness or herbal products. And this center will definitely add a value, and this will start a different way of thinking if we have to make our traditional medicine to globally much more our presence. I think, I'm sure in future, coming years, DBT may invite a lot of, research funding on the plant cell culture and products of this. I think this is the just beginning. I feel such kind of initiatives will really impact, much more research-oriented thinking from the student perspective. I can give you one example where I do conduct, student interactive programs every year in Bangalore. So 10 years ago, when biotechnology students coming to us and asking that what I should do, as the curriculum of biotechnology, the most of disciplines they work. Should I go to drug discovery? Should I go to, downstream processing? All these things. Now, now we have done almost like 250, 300 students have gone under this very systematic, the program that we have given, 10 to 15 weeks. Then we realized that most of them are actually, get into the plant cell technology. This is the technologies where it will give you, you can really visualize. And most importantly, the scale up is much more higher, You can do the tons together. So although we are talking about 100 liters and 500 liters. Even the DGCSR told 5,000 liters at IIM. But we need to really connect those bioreactors across the country today we have, how we can scale up from this COE to the next level, and how the industry, academia, and the startup culture. I think probably that is where we have to inculcate the culture of making that startups. And probably industry come forward definitely when you see that, a lot of ideas are coming into your product concepts. And we should have, and in near future, I feel that again, collaboration with industry and some kind of academia support, we will see some facilities that are coming open for the licensing, like any small scale industry can come and manufacture their plant cell culture. Not that investing of their own, because still they have to realize that it has got a great potential. I think, in my view, this play a very great role shaping this technology for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Babu. And I can just again reiterate, which I just mentioned in my talk as well, that this one of the pillars of the center is also to promote entrepreneurship. So because I'm also the faculty in charge of IIT Madras Bio Incubator, and as Professor Kamakoti also mentioned, so the focus would also be in capacity building to create awareness, to create skill enhancement, to build talent, and also to nurture innovation, also to try to nurture spin-offs from this center so that we can have entrepreneurs and startups coming out. Because IIT Madras Research Park, the very idea why Professor Kamakoti insisted that this lab has to be in Research Park, because IIT Madras Research Park's vision and motive is to promote startup culture. So he wanted this lab particularly to sit there so that it can have future expansions and future spin-offs coming. Yeah. So now my next question to Dr. Gilbert again. So Dr. Gilbert, given that the Phyton biotech roots from academia and the spin-off came out, if I'm right, from Cornell University during our first conversation. So what potential do you see for this center of excellence, just a connected question which I was just talking to Dr. Babu, to catalyze new ventures and commercial innovation in plant cell fermentation technology?
I think there are different ways how to catalyze innovations. And but I like from what I've seen from your center is the fully integrated approach. So you just not talk about generating cell lines alone. You are not talking just about bioreactor technology alone. You are also talking about the downstream, the processing of the products, and that's, I think, very important to teach young people, to teach entrepreneurs. It's more than just developing a cell. You have to get an idea what the kind of product you would like to produce is and how to get to the product. And it's always not just the cultivation of the cell line or the cell material, it's also the processing. And to complete that, you have also a very nice analytical department, which is also very important because characterization from what you are doing helps to get an idea what you can do with your technology. It's often that people are starting with an idea and maybe the product will be very differently compared to what you have started with because you have seen that your analytical characterization provides some very, very interesting information which directs you into another direction, which is maybe a much better product at the end of the day. And I think your facility, your center of excellence allows people to look at all different parts of the development on the one hand. And on the other hand, your center of excellence allows also to educate the people, the talents, which we need. So there will no entrepreneurship if there are no talents around which are aware of that technology and aware of the potential of the technology and the motivation of supporting this technology. And I think this all together that makes your center of excellence extremely interesting for potential new companies, startups coming out. And the final pillar you have in mind and you are working on, that's blue sky science, which is also very important, and a kind of risk mitigation. So imagine we as a company, we would work on very, very high risk projects. We always have to earn some money and we always need kind of academic institutions which help us because we can't take alone this risk, and honestly we don't have all the knowledge to work on all these different pieces. So in that regard, I'm quite sure that in future the one or the other startup will come out of your center of excellence, and I'm quite looking forward to see what happens in future with all the people you are educating and all the technologies you are developing.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert, and thank you for your encouraging words. I'm also keeping my fingers crossed and the entire team of COE here. Now my next question to Dr. Philip here. So Dr. Philip, again, what role do you see this Center of Excellence playing in promoting plant cell fermentation in the Indian ecosystem? See, these, I'm trying to take pointers from experts so that we draw our mode of action accordingly, knowing that how can we fill these requirements. Please.
Well, first I would say that I agree with all what was said by the panelists, and also your three pillars. I think that these are amazing. Maybe one point that I would add is about being a global connector and plug into other international organizations or international companies, and don't build in isolation. Or as we had just said previously, silos are the worst enemy. And we have seen, I can give you an example, now we are running a project of 9 organizations from 7 different countries, all with different complementary expertise. And that by bringing those expertise together, you can make a project that wouldn't work with a single company. So as your new center of excellence, you can be the entry point of plant cell fermentation in India and bringing more expertise and innovation from outside into your system and being the connector, the global connector for plant cell culture in the region. I think that's something that should be considered definitely.
Thank you. We'll keep in mind. I'm sure everybody is making notes from the team, listening to experts. Thank you. And now I would like to ask Ms. Prithvi, again, which sectors, based on your experience and whatever you are a part of PCI group as well, and you are much aware of what line of products plant cell fermentation can cater to. So which sectors, according to you, hold maximum potential for the commercial success of plant cell fermentation technology? Just as a guideline for people sitting here.
Great. So based on a lot of companies that we work with, so we do work with companies all around the world. And I think the biggest driving force there is who can overcome or meet regulatory requirements to be able to commercialize an ingredient. And very honestly, the answer there is, or the big driving point is cosmetics or personal care ingredients that are derived from plant cell cultures. So it could be secondary metabolites, it could be plant cell culture cells themselves, or they even could be secondary derivatives like exosomes, for example, that are a key hot topic as a cosmetic ingredient out there. And I say this because that sort of market access, the global market access, is easier, and it holds more value or as an ingredient that can become a commodity, essentially. But the second area of interest is really the dietary supplements or nutraceutical side. That again holds a lot of interest for companies that we work with. Again, embracing that sort of novel foods tag that probably comes from the UK or EU side of things is quite critical for them to work towards. But also the fact that sort of pricing point becomes easier to overcome as well. That's where nutraceuticals comes into play. And then, of course, the third side of things, it's a bit of a dual sector there, where there's the phytopharmaceuticals as well as food. Those two areas, there is a lot of investment that is required to progress technologies within this sector. So even with phytopharmaceuticals, there is that sort of long-term path to approvals that comes in. And then, of course, on the food side of things, that's a whole another ballpark where there is that sort of comparison to conventional ingredients that comes in strongly, nutritional values as well that comes into play, and as well a bit of, I wouldn't say education, perhaps a bit of a dialogue that is required to be had with government bodies or regulatory agencies within the country to be able to, it's a very novel field, so there is that sort of discussion that needs to be had to be able to establish frameworks that don't necessarily exist all around the world currently. So I think that's the sort of grading I would put about. There is an element of different, there's things like what Philip mentioned before, which is biomaterials, like cotton, even cultivated leather is a thing. That's a different area altogether, not even plant cell culture. But there's many different areas here where they don't really need that sort of regulatory cap that comes into play. So there is a lot of, there's an easier path to follow through that side as compared to everything else. But from the plant cell culture side of things, there's also alternatives like fragrances. Plant cell culture ingredients and fragrances is another big area. So many different sides of what we see. It's a very young, thriving tech that's coming up. And very honestly, I think, it's great to see this much interest that's come in and this sort of conversations that we're now having at a global level. And especially from, probably like a few of us who are also based in the UK, there's that sort of ecosystem that we're setting up as well. And I think, really looking at what does that mean to talk to people who are pioneers in this field across the globe, essentially. That's how we kind of drive that progress towards plant cell culture.
Thank you, Ms. Prithvi. And I'm sure this will also give cues to many industries who are wanting to venture into this space, that hearing you that what can be the best line of products, even with regulatory perspectives and the other factors to keep in mind. Thank you. And with this, in the interest of time, I had multiple questions written down. I had a big 5-6 pages. I was thinking, let me use this opportunity to ask multiple questions to all the experts. You don't get this opportunity very frequently. But just for the interest of time, I would like to wrap up this session. And this has already laid stage for the next much awaited session on regulatory. And I'm sure everybody here who are hearing online and offline sitting here, they are wanting to quickly hear from the experts from regulatory bodies and about the different regulations possible in this space. So thank you all with those words. And now I hand over to Jayashree.
A huge thanks to all the esteemed panelists for a truly engaging and insightful session. I'm sure all of us have new perspectives to take home with us today. As a token of our appreciation for their valuable time, expertise, and contributions to today's discussion, we would like to felicitate our distinguished panelists. May I request Professor Smita to kindly felicitate Mr. Uday Prakash? Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Yuvi. Thank you. I request Dr. Yuvi Babu to please come. And for those present online, Dr. Gilbert Gaur, Dr. Philip Jutras, and Ms. Prithvi Kodalbel, Professor Smita will be presenting you our token of appreciation in person during the PCA Summit at Oxford.
So I will be bringing you your mementos there in person. I'll take the opportunity to felicitate you there. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please join me in giving our panelists a big round of applause for the insightful views today. The next panel discussion will start in 5 minutes. Please give us. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll be starting the panel 2 now. It is my privilege to introduce the esteemed panelists of a second session on regulatory landscapes for plant cell fermentation derived herbal products in India, perspectives from enablers and engagers. I invite Sri Virendra Tiwari ji to the dais. To briefly introduce him again, Sri Virendra Tiwari ji is the chairperson of the National Biodiversity Authority of India with over 3 decades of experience in forestry, wildlife conservation, and environmental governance. The National Biodiversity Authority was established in 2003 by the central government to implement India's Biological Diversity Act 2002. The NBA is a statutory body that performs a facilitative, regulatory, and advisory function for the Government of India on the issues of conservation, sustainable use of biological resources, and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of the utilization of biological resource. We are delighted to have you with us, sir, today. Our next panelist is Dr. Vishwajanani Satyagiri, Head of the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library Unit. Ma'am, please join us on stage. To briefly introduce, Dr. Vishwajanani Satyagiri is known for integrating India's traditional knowledge systems with modern research and protecting them from biopiracy. She has initiated steps for expanding the scope and user base of TKDL. At CSIR, she has also handled strategic planning, monitoring decision, and policy insights. TKDL is a collaborative initiative between the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and the Ministry of Ayush. It is a pioneering digital repository archive that has transcribed over 5 lakh traditional medicinal formulations from Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Sowa Rigpa, and Yoga into 5 international languages: English, Japanese, French, German, and Spanish. This enabled effective utilization of Indian traditional wisdom and intellectual property for global health and wellness. Welcome again, ma'am. I invite our next panelist, Dr. Giridhar Parvatam, Director of CSIR Central Food Technological Research Institute, Mysore, to join us on the dais. Dr. Giridhar Parvatam's research contribution over the past 25 years are at the interface of plant biotechnology, food science, and technology. He has explored the nutritional and nutraceutical potential of lesser-known plant parts to harness bioactive compounds and phytonutrients to develop health food formulations, enhancing the economical value of these plants. His research contributions have spanned areas of plant tissue culture, metabolic engineering, plant secondary metabolites, phytonutrients, nutraceuticals, and functional food formulations. For the benefit of those who have joined from abroad, the Central Food Technological Research Institute was established in 1950 with a focus on in-depth research and development in areas of food science and technology. The focus of CFTRI, it revolves around technology development, translational research, food production, and safety. We are pleased to have you with us, sir. We also have with us Dr. Ganesh Ramamurthy, President, India Section of Association of Analytical Communities International. I request him to kindly join us on the dais. With a career spanning academia, research, and industry leadership, Dr. Ganesh Ramamurthy has played a pivotal role in transforming India's agri-food testing landscape. Dr. Ganesh Ramamurthy has deep expertise in quality management systems, laboratory operations, and agriculture testing services. The Association of Analytical Communities International was founded in 1884. It's a renowned global organization committed to serving the analytical community. It provides laboratory capacity, conformity assessment, method validation, and promotion of globally accepted testing standards. The India section of AOAC International was inaugurated in 2012 and now spans over 200 members. It serves as a driving force to bring together experts from industry, academia, and regulatory for a collective analytical movement in India. We welcome you, sir. I again request Professor Smita, as the head of Herbalife IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology, to moderate this session.
Thank you, Jayashree. And it's my pleasure to have dignitaries on the stage here today talking on this aspect. So just to set the context for the second session, we all know that it is clear to all of us and also from the panel discussion which we had earlier, that the successful commercialization of plant cell fermentation derived products would require a supportive ecosystem that integrates innovation, responsible use of biodiversity, and regulatory compliance. As plant cell fermentation transitions from an emerging technology to a commercial reality, there is a growing need to understand regulatory frameworks to facilitate its mainstream adoption. It's a necessary step. This panel will therefore bring together eminent experts we have been able to bring here for various relevant scientific, regulatory, and standard organizations to discuss the roadmap for bringing plant cell fermentation derived herbal products to market in India. The discussion will focus on how these organizations can act as enablers by providing scientific, regulatory, analytical, and policy support, and as engagers by fostering collaboration among industry, academia, and government agencies. So with this, I would like to begin my question to Virendra ji, Chairman NBA here. So Virendra ji, I'm sure people would like to hear what your views and what potential do you see in commercial plant cell fermentation technology in reducing the burden on wild harvesting of the plants. So if you can throw some light on that.
Well, thank you. See, already in the inaugural session, you only mentioned that about 60 to 90% of the source for these medicinal plant and for herbal products is from the wild. And also it was mentioned that some of the plants which come from Himalayas also are on verge of extinction. So this is obviously as a forest officer or as the chairman of NBA, I would be very happy if the pressure on in the forest decreases and these sources, biological sources come either from cultivated medicine or from the cell fermentation technology. Already we had the example in the earlier panel of Phytome Biochem where they are producing the ingredients using this technology for cancer drug, and they have reduced the burden which were earlier utilized from the bark of the tree. So now they are growing it in the cell. So as a regulator or as a overall as a conservationist, we are very confident that this will slowly reduce the burden or the overexploitation or harvesting of the some of the rare and endangered species and help in conserving biodiversity.
Thank you. And a follow-up question on that. Now, we know, and even globally people know, that India is a signatory in the Nagoya Protocol. Now, given the India's commitment to the Nagoya Protocol, what role can National Biodiversity Authority play as an enabler and engager for the equitable access of the plant cell lines and also these fermentation processes which because even for originating the plant cell lines and processes, the explants will have to be procured from nature. So how can NBA facilitate and the transfer of such indigenous processes made in India to people abroad?
So just for repetition, so India has amended its Biodiversity Act in 2023, and many of the processes have been simplified. So one simplification which is done is they have changed the definition of foreign entity. So earlier it was as per the Income Tax Act, that which said if in any company, even if there is 1% of a foreign stake holding, they have to approach NBA for permission. Now they have changed the definition and said the foreign entity will be defined as per Companies Act. That means only if you are having 51% share and holding the ownership, then only one has to approach National Biodiversity Authority. Now, if you are not holding 51% or so, you have to directly go to State Biodiversity Board. One more thing, if Indians are involved in research or publication of their research, no permission is required. However, if a foreign entity wants to do any research or use the traditional knowledge, then permission of NBA is required. Wherever there is commercialization, irrespective of whether it is Indian or foreign company, permission of NBA is required. And see, if you use this technology, of course, there are two pillars of the Biodiversity Act. One is conservation of biodiversity, other is sustainable use. So that will be fulfilled. The third is the excess benefit sharing. So Government of India has also, with the new regulation, they have made it very structured and ABS mechanism. So what it says if your turnover is less than 5 crore, you don't have to pay any ABS. So if it is no ABS, so if it is sale value, if it is 50 to 250 crore, you have to pay 0.4%. If it is above 250 crore, it is 0.6%. So this is only to make more clarity. The another thing which I would like to say, see, wherever there is a technology transfer, then again the ABS comes into picture. See what happens. Now one more thing which Government of India did is remove the criminality. So we had a lot of violations earlier, maybe knowingly or unknowingly. So every time it's very cumbersome for us also to file a case against the industry. So now Government of India has removed that, so brought in a concept of adjudicating officer if there is a violation. But even that is not in our hand. What is in NBA's hand, I would like to say that if you apply, we assure you that we will expedite the process. If you have any doubt before application, so whether it will be applicable to you, which clause is applicable, which form you have to apply, any doubt, I think it is better you email us. Our team will guide you to the correct procedure so that you don't lose time or don't be misguided by anyone else. Also, we have on our website, we have put FAQs. So more than, I think, 130, 140 questions which commonly arise in people's mind before application, whether the section or the rules are applicable to them or not. We have tried to clarify. However, it may not be 100%, all the questions may not have been covered. So, but whenever anyone approaches us, I want to assure that instead of you fighting us and we fighting you in court, and ultimately both of us landing up paying money to the advocate, it is better that you approach us and we will guide you, and we would be rather happy giving the permissions in time rather than chasing you in court. So already we have about 100 cases ongoing, about 70, 80 in High Court, about 9, 10 in Supreme Court. We are not very happy dealing. And you know how this judicial system, it takes a lot of time to get any order. So the only thing is that even certificate of origin has become online for cultivated medicinal plants. So you apply online and you get the online generated certificate. So, and also I was mentioning in the inaugural session that certificate of registration for patent, that also we are giving, if the application is complete, you can be sure within 10 days you will get certificate of registration. So that part And I think Government of India intends to resolve the issue, and that is why they have carried out all these amendments in recent years. That is what I can vouch for. Thank you.
Thank you, Virenji, and I'm sure industry people sitting here would be very pleased to hear, as rightly the title says, your views are indeed as an enabler and as an engager. So rather than going to the court and being across the table, it is best to sit on the same side. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I would like to pose a question to Dr. Vishwa Janani here, who heads the TKDL unit in New Delhi. Just for the benefit of the audience, TKDL, as was introduced, it is Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. Now, drawing from your experience, Dr. Vishwa Janani, in the Indian traditional knowledge system, please share your thoughts on the key intellectual property right considerations which the innovators should keep in mind when they are using the Indian traditional knowledge for commercialization or commercial, to be more specific, for commercial production of herbal products or anything which is related to herbs.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Smita, and once again, hearty congratulations and best wishes on the COE. Yeah, so before I actually answer your question directly, I'd like to touch upon what the traditional knowledge digital library is all about. So I guess many of the audience here would know about the story of turmeric being patented, basmati being patented, and neem being patented for its fungicidal properties and so on and so forth. So I would like to touch upon two important aspects that has been part of many addresses and comments this morning. We talked about patents and the high rate of patenting that's happening, and also about the judiciary where you say it takes a lot of time. So in this context, when we talk of any patents, it's all about legal rights. You are granted ownership over the invention that you desire to have that. And here in the context of traditional knowledge, it's known subject matter, largely, at least the codified knowledge, not going into the domain of oral traditional knowledge. So when you talk of codified knowledge, it is already present in public domain. Okay, largely, okay. Again, I like to keep aside the manuscripts from India because it could be in private collection. So again, I'd like to present a more general perspective, not going into the exceptions here. So when we talk of such traditional knowledge which is in public domain, this subject matter is prior art information, and so patents cannot be granted on known subject matter. When you talk of patenting, it's about novelty, it is about inventorship, and then about the applicability. So when haldi and basmati, neem all got patented, India was in a shock because it's like a subject matter which is a everyday life item. Take haldi or even basmati rice or even neem for the farmers. So the only way that you fight a patent grant is to go through the litigation process, as Dr. Tiwari already mentioned. It's a long drawn process, and if you had to fight a patent in outside the country, it's a jurisdiction that you don't have any direct connect. So you have to engage advocates of those countries and fight the battle. And this is what India did in the case of turmeric, basmati, and neem, and many other things as well. But the time has, but the concern is the time taken and the cost that it got involved. In the case of basmati, just the advocate fees, the legal fees was 7.2 crore rupees in the late 90s. Today, all these litigation fees has jumped many-fold. So India took a very conscious decision to say that yes, we have a gap because this is a prior art information of Indian traditional knowledge. But the pride that we take in the diversity of languages and all that in the context of patenting becomes a challenge. So TKDL was established in the year 2001 by the Government of India, of course under the ownership of CSIR, supported by the Ministry of Ayush, to provide traditional knowledge information into English, Spanish, German, French, and Japanese. So this is what we do, document Indian traditional knowledge. But the value add that we provide, it's not a mere translation. We provide connect between the traditional terminologies and the modern terminologies, provide a link and make it easy for patent examiners to identify prior art literature so that patents do not get granted on Indian traditional knowledge. So this is the perspective that we provide, and we also, in addition to the patent officers that access the TKDL through specific agreements with the CSIR. We also file from the TKDL unit third-party observations and pre-grant oppositions. So by this, we actually do not go into the litigation phase. So prior to a patent grant, we file opposition. The patent officers take cognizance of the TKDL evidence, and either patents are rejected or amended, the claims get amended, or the applicant decides to withdraw or abandon the patent application. So far, 375 patent applications have been prevented from grant, and thereby we are meeting our primary mandate of preventing misappropriation and biopiracy of Indian traditional knowledge. Now, coming to the question that you posed, it's very important to recognize what is traditional knowledge and what is innovation further to the traditional knowledge, because traditional knowledge has never been a static subject matter. It's always dynamic, meeting the needs of the time over the several thousands of years that we have seen. So in today's context, the technologies that you bring about, have a very, very important role to play, both in terms of promoting that particular innovation and also having the ownership rights on that particular invention that you make. Today, when you talk of the regulatory aspects or the frameworks that are available for herbal products in general, you have as food and dietary supplements, the FSSAI, as drugs, you have two wings. One is the Ayush, the other one is the CDSCO for the phytopharmaceuticals. And of course, there are many herbal products which are just consumer products. In addition to all of this, it has a very important role even in agriculture, be it crop husbandry or animal husbandry. Even plants are used as plant medicines for the plants, that's Vriksha Ayurveda. And if you look at Mriga Ayurveda and even animal food, plants play a very important role. So when you talk of sustaining and conserving bioresources, all these aspects need to be considered. So when when we talk of traditional knowledge and it is inspiring certain innovation, TKDL unit does not come in way of preventing patents from being granted. Okay, it is over and above what is there in traditional knowledge. So very often what we see, from the oppositions that we have filed, we largely oppose the claims that are being made for a herbal formulation against a particular disease, because this is already known in traditional knowledge. Okay, so that is where the patent applications get amended, the claims get amended, the claims related to the product claims are removed, okay, and the processes are still allowed because you come up with new processes. So again, in the context of what you're presenting today, provided there is innovation in it, the patents do get granted.
Wonderful. And I'm sure all the skepticism which might be around in their minds will get clarified from hearing your views on this. Now, I would also like to ask another question to you, Dr. Vishwajanani. What role can TKDL play as an engager, an enabler, when we talk about this commercialization of plant cell fermentation?
Yeah, so
adaptation of traditional knowledge for it, integrating the two together rather.
Yes, so as I mentioned, the TKDL, the USP of the TKDL is it's not a mere translation of the text into, the verses are not merely translated. We provide a value add by connecting it with modern terminologies, providing the details. So for example, if I take up a polyherbal formulation, right from which is the herb, what is the Ayurveda or Siddha name, whatever system of medicine it is, to the common name and the botanical name, which part of the plant is used, to what quantity that particular plant material is used, to the process, and how it is formulated, in which format, the dosage format is also provided. It could be churn, it could be a decoction, it could be any other, even the aristas and different formulations that are available in Ayurveda and the other systems of medicine. Sometimes there are dietary recommendations made, the patya and apatya. Even those details are provided in the TKDL along with the bibliography, which is very critical for the patent officers. So this is one very important aspect of the TKDL, which we believe, as you had mentioned in the introduction, we had close to about 5.2 lakh formulations and practices from our Indian systems of medicine, that has been recorded into the TKDL. It's a huge repository. I think it is one of the largest global repositories on traditional knowledge. This can be a pool of knowledge that can be used by the, by the researchers for promoting and also commercializing products. So I think one of the speakers mentioned about having 900 plants. I think it was Herbalife that mentioned, right?
No,
So,
Dr. U.V. Babu mentioned.
yes. About 900 plants being there, just about, that many number of products in the country. So now, when you look at the TKDL and look at the different formulations that are there, it would help expand the product portfolio. So we do not come in way of products being commercialized. We only come in way of patents being filed on known subject matter, which is strictly traditional knowledge, not over and beyond. So this is the room for adoption of the information that is there in the TKDL. So in cognizance of the value that we are providing in the TKDL, the government of India had approved its widening of the access. So far it's been restricted to only patent offices. Now other users can use the TKDL. But of course, the CSIR is yet to roll out the TKDL access because we are running through a framework. This being the first in the world, we are trying to be as cautious as possible because our main objective will still remain preventing misappropriation and biopiracy of Indian traditional knowledge while enabling its use. So this is one thing from the systems of medicine perspective. In addition, the traditional knowledge digital library, we are expanding into other TK areas, subject areas like agriculture. This would cover crop husbandry, animal husbandry, and fisheries, and also metallurgy and allied areas. So we are hoping that it would be a wonderful source of traditional knowledge which all the researchers and innovators can take advantage of.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Vishwajanani. And I'm sure people must have made note of that sentence of yours that we are trying to now make it accessible to others to use. So I'm sure many of the industries would be now looking forward to have an access to this rich, because as you rightly said, organizations like TKDL have come forward to collate the spread out information at one place, which can be made accessible in multiple languages, not only to Indian industry, but also to global stakeholders. Thank you. Thank you for your views. Now we have with us Director CFTRI, Dr. Giridhar. So Dr. Giridhar, as also a person who has been working with a rich experience in plant biotechnology, we would like to hear from you that the potential role that India can play as a biomanufacturing hub and also as a consumer market for plant cell fermentation derived foods, which we generally call as novel foods or nutraceuticals or cosmeceuticals.
Yeah. Glad to be part of this event, panel discussion. Congratulations to Herbalife and IIT Madras Center for Excellence on Plant Cell Fermentation Technology. I love this term because my department name wherein I worked in CFTR also Plant Cell Biotechnology Department. Whenever we used to go, even in CSIR circles also, what is this Plant Cell Biotechnology Department, they used to ask. Even in headquarters also, or DBT also. Then I used to say one thing, we work on lower plants like algae and also higher plants. That's why plant cell biotechnology. This is the way I used to define. Otherwise, just for the sake of knowledge purpose, in 1960s, Dr. Becker from Germany, he visited India and he was a friend of Dr. L. Venkatraman, the famous algalist, and Professor Desikachari, Murugappa Chettiar Research Institute. So he worked there and he established autotrophic cell culture facility, that is called algal culture. Then in due course, after 1.5 decades, it emerged into a plant cell biotechnology department.
Okay.
So delighted to see that in India, it is happening, like plant cell fermentation technology based at industry level. Glad to see, because otherwise, right from university days, we used to study a lot only on molecular farming. Okay. Now the question comes to what you mentioned. Yes, there is a potential in India also. See, regulatory aspect wise, whatever multinational companies, I mean, in other countries, whatever they are producing, already some guidelines are there. Generally, what happens in India is we follow, rather than FDA and USDA, we follow European Food Agency guidelines. So more or less our, even the codex, next is codex, generally for food purpose. But whether it is plant cell based fermentation or any other cell culture technology, whatever may be, if it is the food, one type of look will be there. If it is for the medicine, another type of look will be there. Because medicine is like a life-saving thing. There, the accuracy and 2 to 3 generation clinical studies are important, whether it is a synthetic drug or fermentation-based produced one or not. But in the case of food, very stringent measures are there. Even in the natural formulations also, we also face that one. As Tiwari ji mentioned, for R&D there is no problem. That is what we do actually, prototype things and otherwise. Once you want to go for the formulation, I mean a big industrial scale level, then definitely you need to take a pre-market authorization is one important aspect. Whether you import the cell cultures or plant cell cultures, or you want to do production or manufacturing or selling, every stage you need to have the regulatory guidelines you have to follow. But another important thing is, if it is like a self-fermentation technology based food, just I am giving an example. Self-fermentation technology food, in European Union, it comes under novel foods. You see the terminology, it comes under novel foods. But in India, as per FSSAI, non-specified food. So that itself gives a lot of ambiguity in the consumer's perception. This is unnatural. So you need to clear the phobia of unnatural of the fermented technology thing. Otherwise, in race pond cultures, you will grow the algae like spirulina, Botryococcus, Hepatococcus, all things you can do it. But the moment you do it under controlled conditions, there is a phobia that you have to break it through awareness. That is the thing. See, similarly, if it is like a medicinal applications, as long as your claim is for medicinal thing, it goes under Ayush, as Madam mentioned. But as a dietary supplement or for a functional food something, it comes under again at FSSAI. The same question some entrepreneurs asked during the RISE conclave in Bangalore, that is research industry, startup eco and entrepreneur. Just 10 days back it happened in Bangalore. So one entrepreneur, startup ecosystem asked exactly the same question. Why it is very terrible for us to get approval is this or that side, the paperwork moves this side. Why don't you bring all together? So certain things are there, but certainly it is in India, at least Indian context wise, it is an evolving thing. And also geographical conditions you need to see. Which country you are going to target to sell your product. That is very, very important.
Right.
Then based on that one, the law of the land, you can say.
Obviously, yes.
Obviously, that is what happens.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Girdhar. And also now a follow-up question to you. From regulatory compliance perspective, you just said, so what ecosystem support can CFTRI provide as an enabler and engager to such entities, whether established, whether startups, while they are thinking of commercializing plant cell fermentation based foods and nutraceuticals?
Yeah, in a controlled condition, as long as you are producing the things, the same like whatever in a herbal based or plant based food products development formulations, the basic guidelines, whatever applicable to the food formulations, the same guidelines also will applicable to that one. But the only extra thing, important question is, in case if you are culturing the things in a fermenter, whatever ingredient you are using must be GRAS status. You see, for the biomass multiplication purpose, suppose if you use any synthetic auxin or synthetic cytokinin, then again, whether it is having the GRAS status or not, you need to see.
Okay.
Otherwise, somewhere in the downstreaming process, if it's traceable, then again problem will be there.
Okay.
But only good thing is, as long as you are using the GRAS status things and highly purified chemicals for the media preparation and the culture, heavy metals contamination won't be there. That I can, as a scientist, I can believe.
Sure.
But in natural conditions, heavy metal contamination is very problematic thing actually, whether it is in the Ayush formulations or food products.
Right.
Especially it is mandatory to do all the things. Most of the things gets failed. because if they comes from the soil,
Correct.
at least that problem you can avoid by using this technology.
Thank you, Dr. Giridhar. And I'm sure people who are wanting to venture in this space now have a clarity on how CFTRI expertise can be leveraged when they are thinking of commercializing such products. I'll now come to Dr. Ganesh here. Dr. Ganesh, with rich experience and expertise in quality management systems, laboratory operations, and agricultural testing services. Now, how do you view the potential in India as a market and also as a biomanufacturing hub for plant cell fermentation derived novel foods?
Good afternoon and congratulations to you and Herbalife Center for Excellence, and thank you for inviting me and posing these questions. So first and foremost, the entire concept of regulation that applies to plant cell fermentation product, right, is at the level of what we say as this is a produced item. When we talk about, when Dr. Babu explained, we have collectibles, we have cultivated ones, and then now this is the third stream that you are entering into, which is now getting manufactured in a factory kind of a situation, right? Now in each of these three, right, the first is the primordial one, right? So the collectibles are the best ones in terms of using it as a natural ingredient. But we have challenges with collectibles. The collectibles are not available anymore, and a lot of rules and regulations are beset with that, and therefore collectibles may not be sustainable, right? So collectibles are important to an extent that can act as an explant for you, right, to the next extent. When it comes to cultivation, again there are challenges. The agroclimatic zones, the various heights in which different medicinal plants grow and survive and thrive may not be same, and therefore you try growing them in various places with some success and more of failures, right? And most importantly, the phytochemistry that we expect out of the collectible is not replicated in the one which is cultivated. So these are the challenges. So therefore, whatever claims that we want to do in terms of therapeutic effect or the other effects that it could, positive effects that come out, may not be exactly same between the collectible and the cultivable. Now the same challenge will lie for you, right? In terms of when we grow this under fermentation conditions, now the regulation is very clear. Dr. Giridhar has put the picture. So the regulation will start from what you want to claim, what the entrepreneur wants to claim, what anybody who wants to manufacture wants to claim. So is the claim going under Ayush? Is the claim as a new drug coming under FSSAI? Or it is something which is going to give you as a phytomedicine and going into CDSC? Now this clarity, all the entrepreneurs, this capacity building has to be done. So that comes from the fact that what you want to manufacture and what is the end goal for you and what you want to claim in your product. That will decide whether you are going through Ayush or going through FSSAI or you're going to. And within that, obviously, the confusion that Dr. Giridhar just now mentioned, that the regulation 2.15 talks about 8 different types of nutraceuticals. One for sports, one for medical health, one probiotic. So all of them. So, and then there is novel food. And when you make a dossier for FSSAI, because these are non-specific food items, they are not specified anywhere in our traditional regulatory. So then that dossier we have to ensure that it not only satisfies the requirements of the Indian regulation, but also takes into consideration that FDA, EFSA, and other Australian, New Zealand. So because more or less, when you spend on making the dossier, the requirements are largely the same, right? Maybe 1 point here or there, right? the requirements of all of these are largely the same. The direction is same, right? Some are slightly asking for lower LOQs, right, rather than slightly better LOQs. But otherwise, the dossier can actually address, because the product now becomes free to travel all over the world. I mean, that will become a USP going forward.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. I think that also gives audience an indication that if a guideline is already available, let's say for novel foods derived from plant cell fermentation processes in EFSA or in FDA, then possibly that can also help the Indian innovators to also ensure that they are falling in place based on the Indian guidelines, which regulatory body, depending on which product they want to sell in the market. As a guideline, they can use that for clarity.
So it all depends on the base product that we are looking at, right? And from the point of view of regulatory, there are regulatory requirements that are available for EFSA, right? Which could be the starting point, right? And then we can look forward to how we can progress on that. Right? And therefore, the engagement has to happen upon with Ayush, FSSAI, CDSCO, and all of these, right? And definitely AOAC International can be, will definitely be an enabler in terms of having methods. End of the day, the challenge today we face is the diversity in the testing results, right? The harmonized way in which all of these testing gets done, right? One point that Dr. Giridhar mentioned was when you use the fermentation and use a lot of chemicals in that, chemicals in the sense your plant growth hormones, right? Now, at the end of the day, when the product comes out, if there is a residual 2,4-D or BAP, right, is it within the MRL levels as specified in the class where you are wanting to apply, right? So if you are applying for CDSCO or FSSAI, within FSSAI, yes, we have the MRLs and whether they are well within the MRLs. So for all of these, you need to have standardized methods. And AOAC will be more than happy to standardize methods of testing, right? So that methods are in place. And as your Center of Excellence progresses, right, we will know that various kinds of products, what are the methods to be looked at, so that what the regulator requires and what we need to be prepared for. Now that will help the entire ecosystem to move in a faster pace.
Absolutely. You have already answered my next question, which I was wanting to ask you, that what role can organizations like AOAC can play as an enabler for innovators? But I think you have already spoken about it.
I'll take a minute to speak about AOAC International also.
Sure.
So AOAC International is more than 100-year-old organization, right? And it is very well known for its OMA, right? Which is the official methods of analysis. Now, official methods of analysis, so if you look at most of the FSSA methods also, they also actually use AOAC methods. So, therefore, the methods of analysis have to be harmonized, and if whether it is Codex or even Codex has a lot of methods which use AOAC, SMPR methods. So, methods is the strength, and the official methods of analysis of AOAC International is available. Now, added to it, whenever new opportunities like this come, right, so AOAC International and the India section will be happy to facilitate, right, the right kind of a method which has passed all the requirements, right, and then we have a method that we can be easily used, right, all across. So having method for testing a product, a novel product itself. So we already have a group, methods group, for such novel products. In fact, I can put you on to those groups so that we can initiate the process of method standardization for this series.
Wonderful, Dr. Ganesh. And I'm sure people, as again I'm saying, those who are wanting to venture in this space would be very glad that they got the opportunity of hearing from the experts how they can be enablers and engagers in this process. Thank you all. With that, I request Jayashree to please take over the session.
We would like to now facilitate our esteemed panelists. I would like to invite Professor Smita to present the token of appreciation to all the esteemed panelists for sharing their invaluable insights. I request Smita to come. Shri Virendra Tiwari ji. Dr. Vishwajani Satigiri.
It's my pleasure.
Dr. Giridhar Parvatam. And Dr. Ganesh Ramamurthy. We now request Professor A.K. Srivastav to felicitate Professor Smita for her effort and contribution. It is an honor to have with us Professor A.K. Srivastava, who is a former faculty of IIT Delhi, a veteran in the field of plant cell fermentation technology. He was the PhD guide of Professor Smita at IIT Delhi. Thank you, sir, for joining us in person for this momentous occasion.
Involved in the area which was very new to her.
I just hope sir doesn't talk about me, how naughty or how bad I was.
No. She was put in an area which was very new for her, but she worked extra hard. And when I saw her progress, of the PhD, so my advisors advised me that you kindly publish, patent it first and then publish it. So I got the first patent for Smita, 22. And then she was allowed to publish, and she has 6, 7 publications out of her PhD thesis, And let me also share one thing, since we have patented it, so later on an industry came, they wanted to work on mass scale production of azadirachtin and all that, So I had that protected. So they were pretty sure, I was pretty sure that I'll get the money worth for our efforts and all that, So still the negotiations are going. They're very much keen to really go on an industrial scale, this technology which he has developed, So it's a really proud moment for the supervisor, and I'm sure for the student as well, that she has done excellent work.
Thank you, sir.
Later on, this became a ritual for me, and I had 7 patents. Out of them, 6 were in the plant cell.
We would like to present a token of gratitude to Professor A.K. Srivastava. Thank you, sir. So please join me in giving our panelists and moderator a warm round of applause again. We've come to the end of the ceremony and hope the interactions and insights shared today by all the panelists will spark new ideas, meaningful partnerships and future innovation that will contribute to a more sustainable and resilient bioeconomy. Thank you once again for being part of this momentous occasion. Before we conclude, I would like to invite for a group photo. I request the members of panel 1, Mr. Uday Prakash and Dr. UV Babu, to please join us. I request Mr. Ajay Khanna to also join us for the group photo. Thank you, everyone. We now invite you all to join us for lunch. Kindly present the food coupons at the food counter.